Mr. Speaker, sir, my second statement, I rise pursuant to Standing Order 53-1 to seek a statement from the
top of the enjoyment of Madaraka Day. Honorable Speaker, I want to also take an opportunity to say that while we are mourning our soldiers, it is the high time we look at the insecurity that General Ogolla was going to check on the ground. We need to stop the banditry issue, and there is no other better time, Honorable Speaker, than this time that we have lost our soldiers. Honorable Speaker, I also want to join my colleagues to say that we need to look at the equipment that our forces are using. And Honorable Speaker, it is not only the soldiers.
Your time is up. Maclap.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. On behalf of the people of Baringo North and the people of the North Rift who have suffered victims of banditry, I wish to take this opportunity to condole with the families of General Ogolla and the entire military that perished, including one from our county, Mr. Speaker, one Colonel Keitany, who comes from Eldama Ravine. We want to say that it was a tragic accident to a general who was trying to help people in Baringo, West Pokot, Elgeyo Marakwet, Samburu, the people who have always suffered in the hands of bandits, Mr. Speaker. And this gives us also an opportunity, Mr. Speaker, to say that I have actually interacted with General Ogolla. General Ogolla, when we were trying to sit down and see how we can sort out the schools that were closed because of bandits, we had a meeting in DOD together with the CS for defense. And we even took a photo. I saw a brilliant, intelligent man in the name of General Ogolla. So, Mr. Speaker, because time is not there, this is an opportunity for Commander-in-Chief of all the defense forces of our country, the President, to get annoyed and ensure that he brings to this House Article 241, subsection 3, so that we allow the military to wipe out bandits in the North Rift, Mr. Speaker, once and for all, the same way they wiped out in Mount Elgon and in Somalia, Mr. Speaker. This is an opportunity for this House to approve the military to wipe out banditry in the North Rift, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Atandi.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for recognizing me and giving me the opportunity to pass my condolences on the floor of the House. And first of all, Honorable Speaker, let me thank you for coming all the way to Siaya on Sunday during the funeral service of the General, plus many other colleagues of mine who joined us, including the leadership of the majority and the leadership of the minority. Honorable Speaker, we had the opportunity to say many things at the funeral, but for now, I just wanted to say, Honorable Speaker, that when a person of this stature dies in a manner that General Ogolla died, some heads also need to roll, because we are calling for thorough investigations so that we can understand what happened. But, Honorable Speaker, I believe that in the military, especially the majors who are in charge of the air wing, the Air Force, the commander of the Air Force, Honorable Speaker, is somebody I believe is a culprit. Because if General Ogolla is a captain and a former commander of the Air Force, how come he was allowed to fly a chopper which I believe was faulty? This is something that we need to ask. Also, Honorable Speaker, this House appropriates a lot of resources to the military, but the military ends up buying faulty choppers. Honorable Speaker, I believe that this House and the departmental committees responsible should investigate the military department, the Department of the Defense, because I believe this department is a department which is riddled with corruption, and we never question them. You know, Honorable Speaker, the House must take this issue very seriously, because, Honorable Speaker, a Chief of Defense Forces cannot be killed.
Your time is up. Elachi.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I also rise to eulogize our fallen soldiers and, more importantly, to really send my condolences and prayers to Eileen and family and all the women who their husbands have fallen. Mr. Speaker, CDF Ogolla, I knew him when I became the majority whip in Senate. And at that time, he would come many times when we have guests from foreign countries who would meet at where our first father is lying and we lay wreath together. But more importantly, after that, he was one simple man who would send you an SMS, who would tell you something, and if there's anything, he will even caution you and tell you, don't do this. And so, Mr. Speaker, as I really pray for his soul, and I know, and I want to plead with the people of the North Rift. You see, we talked here 2 days before that, Mr. Speaker. We had an adjournment of a motion. After that, we lose our best, goes down. And I think it is time you look at yourselves in the mirror and you go home and make peace and make that area work. We cannot say it is money. We cannot say it is anything, Mr. Speaker. They have CDF. They have money from counties. It cannot be. Cattle rustling is the one that can bring you riches. It cannot be. And so we cannot just sit here and laugh. There is need of many things to happen in that area, Mr. Speaker. And one of them, first of all, is to fieka that area until they wonder what just hit this area. That's the best you can have from all that we have seen. So as we cry, we must have...
Gitari. Honorable Gitari. Kirinyaga Central. Give him the mic.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for giving me this chance. Honorable Speaker, I want to condole with the families of the foreign soldiers. Honorable Speaker, I want to say that Kirinyaga Central was affected because John Kenyo Moredi hails from Kirinyaga Central and from a ward called Kanyekine. I also want to say that Rose Nyawera is a lady that I know very well, who before they relocated to Moya, their parents live in Kirinyaga Central. It's a lady who even worked in my office when I served in the 11th Parliament. Mr. Speaker, I think the best thing we can do to the foreign soldiers, I have a plea for the warring people, either civil society, bandits, Catholics, and every other group that have conflict in the North Rift. My plea is that so that they can honor the foreign soldiers, they stop the conflict and they live in harmony. Because, Mr. Speaker, I believe if this did not happen, maybe we will not have lost the 10 soldiers where they were going just to supervise the construction of primary schools. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Jaldeza Wako.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir, for allowing me to condole the nation and the fallen soldiers and their families. On behalf of the people of Moyale that I represent, I want to bring to the attention that we lost a very young, brilliant pilot in the name of Captain Sora, who hails from Moyale. And we mourn our captain, our young son, with the rest of the Kenyan soldiers who had fallen. Mr. Speaker, it's very painful to suspect or imagine that this plane was brought down by the ragtag bandits roaming the northern part of this country. And I'm sure the government educated quickly. Mr. Speaker, some of these soldiers had very young families and they need support. I think the government should take some affirmative action to support, not just to compensate for for them, but actually take a positive action to make sure that the families are not ruined because of these activities. With those few remarks, Mr. Speaker, I say thank you, and I still condole with the entire nation and the fallen soldiers, especially our people of Moyale are mourning. Thank you, sir.
Moses Serma.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to condole with the families of our late soldiers who just passed. Our General Ogolla, being a great man and a great soldier in this country, include Colonel Keitany, who hails from my constituency, Mr. Speaker, that these are young people who are doing a good service to Kenyans. Mr. Speaker, accidents involving government aircrafts has a very bad history, Mr. Speaker. I do remember Moody Awori landed on Mombasa Road, end of the story. Many people have gotten in this problem because of poor maintenance. Naomi Wako is a widow, courtesy of an aircraft of the military. Chelanga died in Marsabit because of a faulty aircraft. Mr. Speaker, I want to really ask the government. I want to ask the government to really wipe out, because if it was not because of banditry, which we have been crying as the people of Baringo for a long time, Ogolla would still be alive. He went because of
Your time is up. Kikaria. You've made your point.
Nashukuru sana Mheshimiwa Spika kwa kunipatia nafasi hii. Ninatoa rambirambi kwa wanajeshi wetu wale walipata ajali na kufariki walipokuwa katika kazi zao. Lakini Mheshimiwa Spika, nichukue nafasi hii kutoa rambirambi kwa familia ya kijana mmoja kutoka Nakuru County, mahali baba yake anaishi na mahali amekuwa akitumikia kwa muda mrefu. Kijana huyu ni Captain Hilary Litali, ambaye walikuwa nakaa katika sehemu ya Nakuru West, mahali kunaitwa Shabab. Na Mheshimiwa Spika, kijana huyu alikuwa ni kijana mdogo sana, miaka 29, kijana ambaye alikuwa anaenda kupewa madaraka ya kuwa meja kwa kazi nzuri ambaye amekuwa akifanya. Na huyu kijana ndio kijana wa kwanza katika familia changa ambaye inatoka maeneo haya. Lakini kitu cha muhimu, Mheshimiwa Spika, ni kuweka tahadhari kama sheria zetu zilivyo. Watu wa social media, mambo ya kutangaza vifo kabla haijafikia familia kupitia njia nzuri, nafikiri ni kitu ambaye tulikuwa tumepitisha sheria, na katika social media ambaye watu wengi wanaanza kupitisha ujumbe, familia inapata ujumbe kabla ile official kutoka katika zile sehemu inafaa kutoka, ni kitu cha muhimu. Ya mwisho ni makadirio ya mambo ya bajeti ya operations. Mimi niko katika kamati ya environment, na unakuta treasury wanakata pesa ya operations ya ile kugharamia marekebisho ya ndege kama ile helicopter iko katika KFS. Ni muhimu tuangalie treasury wawache kupunguza pesa za operations za maintenance katika
Roida.
Asante Bwana Spika kunipatia nafasi nami nitoe rambirambi zangu na mimi na familia yangu na watu wangu wa Lamu Mashariki, kwa familia ya General Ogolla na kwa familia ya undugu ya wanaanga, ikiwa General Ogolla yeye mwenyewe alikuwa rubani. Kwa familia yote ya aviation fraternity natoa rambirambi. Pia nichukue nafasi hii Bwana Spika nitoe rambirambi kwa wale wote waliofariki, KDF waliofariki kupitia njia wakiwa kwenye kazi kuchunga nchi yetu. Bwana Spika, Lamu Mashariki sisi tuna kitu kikipata KDF sisi inatuuma zaidi. Lamu Mashariki ndio eneo bunge peke yake walimu kupelekwa shule lazima wabebwe na KDF. Boni Forest yote lazima shule za kule zibebwe na KDF. Bwana Spika, nilibahatika nikawa na General Ogolla kwa ofisi yake tarehe 11 mwezi huu kabla ya mauti yake. Kwa hakika alikuwa na ari ya kuhakikisha nchi imepata amani. Bwana Spika, yeye mwenyewe mimi sikushtuka nikiambiwa kwa nini yeye mwenyewe General ameenda kutembelea hizo shule, kwa sababu yale aloniambia pale, aliniambia yeye mwenyewe atakuja Lamu Mashariki ili atembelee sehemu za Boni na sehemu zingine. Kwa hivyo Mwenyezi Mungu awape familia subra na awasaidie pale kwenye pengo. Asante.
Osoro.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I also want to join my colleagues in condoling with the families of the departed soldiers, and particularly General Ogolla, Honorable Speaker. But two things, Honorable Speaker, that I will say that we've learned from the entire event or this occasion that has befallen our country, Honorable Speaker. Number one, best way we can be able to mourn the death of our departed heroes is to restore security in those areas, especially those bandit-prone areas, Honorable Speaker. Number two, lessons to learn that because I really got involved with the whole process of seeing General Ogolla off. Number two thing that we learn is that family is an integral part of our body, of our lives, and of our growth. And for those that have got young families, it's very important for us to raise our kids in the right manner. That is what we learned even from the burial of General Ogolla. And finally, Honorable Speaker, it's also important for us as politicians to learn not to
Defense, Honorable Speaker.
Defense, sorry.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Let me also take this opportunity to condole with the family of retired General, the family of General Ogolla, sorry, the deceased General Ogolla, and the other 9 officers who perished that fateful day with him in pursuit of peace in the north part of our country, North Rift. I have interacted severally with General Ogolla, Honorable Speaker, and this is one very consummate professional. I interacted with him as when I was in the Committee of Defense, just as a member, and even more as a chairman, and him being the general. It puts on focus what exactly our soldiers go through, Honorable Speaker, that General Ogolla laid his life so that this, in pursuit of peace within and without our borders. It is important to start scrutinizing and seeing what can be done so that our soldiers, the welfare of our soldiers, can be catered for. It is very unfortunate, Honorable Speaker, that this is the core of our security infrastructure, and we've lost a general. It's something of concern, and as a committee, we will endeavor as much as possible to find out what really could have caused this. But nonetheless, I've heard from honorable colleagues the plea that we should look also on the funding of the infrastructure in our military. It's important, Honorable Speaker, and I'm sure honorable colleagues have interacted with the budget of defense, and you look at the modernization program. It is important that our military are fully and well equipped and kitted for them to do their duties within and outside our borders. Nonetheless, I want to say sincere condolences and to urge the members, especially leaders.
Member for Migori.
Nakushukuru Bwana Spika kwa kunipa nafasi hii. Sisi kama Waislamu kawaida tumejitayarisha kufa. Tunajua kufa ni haki, na ni haki ambayo mtu hawezi akachelewesha wala akabadilisha. Lakini tuna huzuni kama watu wa kutoka Nyanza. Huyo alikuwa kijana wetu na tulipeana kwa nchi, na amekufa na tumekubali amekufa. Ila nashangaa, manake kila mtu anapoongea hapa analaumu ndege ya kuwa ilikuwa na itilafu. Mumejuaje ndege hili lilikuwa na itilafu? Mimi nauliza kama Mkenya, na naomba muwe na utulivu, kwa sababu tunachangia kitu cha maana sana, ni kifo cha mtu ambaye ni wa maana sana, na tunahuzunika. Lakini tunaomba mupatie wao wanaofanya uchunguzi nafasi nzuri wa kutuambia nini iliua jenerali. Kama mnajua ndege ilikuwa na itilafu, basi uchukueni lawama, kwa sababu inaonekana tayari mnajua nini kilitendeka. Zaidi, naomba serikali ipeane kwa wale familia, waambiwe pole, hasa kwa General Ogolla ambaye amelaumiwa kisiasa. Hatutakuwa tunafanya utani tukisema hapa tunamhurumia kifo chake na familia, na huku tunamlaumu kisiasa, ila hakukuwa mtu ambaye alikuwa anafanya siasa. Kama wana Kenya, tafadhali tupatie family nafasi ya kuomboleza, na Wakenya waliokuwa wanampenda waomboleze, na tuache serikali na wale ambao wanafanya uchunguzi wafanye uchunguzi, tupate kujua kina kile kilimuua. Kama ni accident, tujue ni accident aina gani, ilifanyikaje, kwa sababu gani, utilafu ulikuwa wapi, lakini tusipeane suluhisho kabla hata tujajua nini kilifanyika. Nashukuru, naomba Mwenyezi Mungu.
Russell. After that, Majority Leader, then we close there.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I rise to pay tribute to General Ogolla and 9 other gallant officers and men and women who fell in that terrible air crash. Honorable Speaker, I know General Ogolla because we joined the KDF just around the same time, and our paths crossed as he grew up in the Kenya Air Force, and I was in the Kenya Army. He was a first-rate officer because he flew the jets that flies further than the speed of sound. But this time round, he didn't die in a jet, but he died in a helicopter that flies low and it flies slow. That is the fate that can befall us. But he leaves a legacy as a professional, a humble man, diligent, who had a focused approach to making defense and the defense of Kenya better. From Marsabit, we lost Mohamed Sora, a young man who just got promoted Tuesday last week. But as a pilot, he happens to be the only pilot flying in the Kenya Air Force from the community of the Boran. So that is what could happen in such a tragic thing. But finally, it is the issue of bandits, lawlessness, impunity, people who have taken over vast parts of this country.
Thank you. Honorable members, I still see a lot of interest. I'll now reduce the time to 1 minute. Member for Kajiado South.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Speaker. I join my colleagues in mourning and consoling with the family of the Chief of Staff, Chief of General Ogolla, and other KDF soldiers who have lost their lives in line of duty. We remember General Ogolla as a professionalist in the line of professionalism and leadership, where he became a role model, and he was able to lead and give a way in the way the KDF should be done. In a special way, Mr. Speaker, allow me to wish the survivors of the crash. One of the survivors, was from my place, the Colonel Koruta Kasaini, and we wish him quick recovery. And as a constituency, we are proud of him, and we thank God for saving his life and giving him a second chance to serve the Republic of Kenya in KDF. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Wanjala.
The late
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Budalangi is a neighboring constituency to Alego Usonga. And Mr. Speaker, we in Budalangi and the people of Alego Usonga and the Siaya, we were also celebrated to have a senior person in the government. Unfortunately, God loved him more than we loved him. He's gone, Mr. Speaker, but we wanted to be on record that in those areas, many of our gallant sons have died in mysterious ways. We lost Ouko, we have lost Ogolla, and we lost many others that died in such circumstances that cast us.
Roku.
Honorable Speaker, thank you.
You have a minute, so you better deliver your message quickly.
I said I want to condole with the family and the people, all the families which lost members through the military air crash. Honorable Speaker, I happen to share a platform with General Ogolla in Burundi during the East Africa Special Summit, where he was a dedicated security expert in matters Eastern Congo. Honorable Speaker, at the same time, I want to condemn Omburu Odinga remarks during the burial of the late Ogolla for castigating the young man when his mourning is done. That was extremely bad and uncalled for. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Member for Gishugu.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Among the people or the soldiers who perished alongside the General Ogolla are Senior Sergeant John Kenywa Mureithi from Kirinyaga Central and Sergeant Rose Nyawera from Mwea. And I echo my colleagues in condoling all the families that lost their loved ones, and also wish the ones that survived quick recovery. And I urge all the leaders who come from the areas that these soldiers were on duty to sit down, bring their mind together, and come up with ways that they can end banditry and bring security in those areas. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
John Waluke.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I also want to take this chance to condole to the family of General Ogolla and 9 others who departed together with General Ogolla. I worked with General Ogolla, Honorable Speaker, together with Honorable Araso there. He was a good officer, and he really took care of military during his time of when he was in office before he departed. Honorable Speaker, I used to see him on the social media when he was going for morning run with junior soldiers, and that is to show that he really took care of that other soldiers, Honorable Speaker. So this day.
Bensuda. There you are.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this opportunity. And I would like also to join in eulogizing the late CDF. And I want to say that there are many lessons learned truly, but there's no time. I want to say that in eulogizing the late Ogolla, cultural practices or diversity is upheld in the Constitution. And if given chance to mourn, I think we have not yet fully concluded in mourning General Ogolla. And when you see the region carrying on with mourning General Ogolla, know that it is constitutionally upheld in the Constitution. Number two, I want to say that this House must learn that when ad hoc committees or any committee of inquiry is formed to provide for a report, and I'm talking from the perspective of what the President said, that he is going to make sure that truth and nothing but the truth is given.
Your time is up. Order, Bensouda. Your time is up. KJ.
Mr. Speaker, I thank you. I had the honor and privilege to meet General Ogolla and his family. And Mr. Speaker, what a fine gentleman and what a big loss for this country. And Mr. Speaker, it is the book that tells us that you shall know them by their fruits. Through the family, we were able to have a sneak preview of what kind of a gentleman, a person, and what demeanor General Ogolla was. But most importantly, General Ogolla was a teacher who is teaching us even in his death. Mr. Speaker, General Ogolla is telling us that we need to rethink our final rights as a country. We cannot have villages that spend more on funerals than they do on the education of their children. Mr. Speaker, the leadership that General Ogolla has presented is something to be emulated, Mr. Speaker, even in his death. Finally, Mr. Speaker, I just pray that God...
General Jackson Kimeo Mulenge, I also stand to condole with the families of the bereaved. And Mr. Speaker, General Ogolla is the first officer, or rather the first general to die in office. So of course there's going to be very many questions. You heard what the son said when there was the funeral was there. He said the father was physically fit, but somehow the father was also preparing them for his demise, which was, you know, those are the kind of questions that we need to have answered. So I think it's important that we hasten the investigations, and if possible, even this House also plays a role in ensuring that we can bring this issue behind us so that Kenyans can also have proper and full closure. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Wow. Donya. We are coming this.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Speaker. As we continue mourning our hero, we've seen many funerals and we learned so many things. Donya standing here, I can say for General Ogolla's burial and the funeral ceremony, we didn't witness women fighting, children coming on board. He led us. He has taught us. We give him a heckle, Mr. Speaker, for his well-behaved way that now everybody is having an appetite for his moral ways in the family. Thank you.
Yes, member for Endebess.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. First and foremost, for letting this House honor our fallen heroes, Chief of the General Defense Forces, General Ogolla, and the other 9 members who died in our aircraft in West Pokot. Honorable Speaker, it's a sad day for our country, and we want to say pole to the family, pole to all those people who General Ogolla made a difference in their life, especially our most disciplined forces, the Kenya Defense Forces, who have excelled in many of the peace missions within the region and even far away. Honorable Speaker, issues of cattle rustling in which he was following up are very emotive issues, and we hope that the government will deal with it once and for all.
Honorable members, we've done a full hour. Allow me to truncate the debate here and call the majority leader as the last speaker on this. Bear with us. There is a motion by Roida tomorrow to do with the army as well. Please be available to make. Rosa, you've just come in. The people who have been here all this time, they have not gotten their space. Majority leader.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. And Honorable Speaker, allow me to join the House in condoling with the family of General Ogolla and all the other 9 gallant officers, including the pilot, Major Magondu, who lost their lives in the tragic crash last week on Thursday. Honorable Speaker, you remember when it happened, it was Honorable Millie Odhiambo who drew attention of the House to that tragic loss and the crash on Thursday evening, and it was not yet clear at that time what had exactly happened, just as it is not clear yet what exactly led to that crash. Honorable Speaker, I want to say, as the President committed during the funeral of General Ogolla last Sunday, that the government of Kenya and indeed the Kenya Defence Forces have already set up a team to investigate the circumstances that led to that accident, that very unfortunate accident. Honorable Speaker, I can only join the President to reassure the House and the country that the Defence Forces will ensure, as they have always done, in a very professional way, embark, as they have already done, on investigations to ascertain exactly what led to that unfortunate accident, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, this also offers the country an opportunity, and it's good that you gave us this opportunity not only to mourn our departed colleagues and great countrymen, but also afford this House the opportunity to reconsider, and I hope the chair of the Defense and Foreign Relations Committee is listening, that at times the military does come before the House looking for resources to modernize equipment. And I've had many members during the budget making process criticize without knowledge the modernization of military equipment. And Honorable Speaker, probably this now offers that opportunity, that as we consider the next few years' budgets, this coming financial year and the next years, to consider, seriously consider modernization of all our military equipment, including the aircrafts that we use, not just in the military, but also in the police, including, Honorable Speaker, the presidential jet, the jet that... Honorable Speaker, I was saying the presidential jet, you remember, was purchased in the early 80s or late 80s by former President Daniel Arap Moi. And probably this offers that opportunity now to reconsider all this equipment, be it aircraft and other military equipment, Honorable Speaker, towards modernizing them to the modern equipment that is safe and good for use, not just by the military, but also other government officers. Honorable Speaker, as we remember General Ogolla and the other 9 gallant officers, Honorable Speaker, let us also remember their families, to pray for those families, and also, Honorable Speaker, to remember that all these military officers give their lives to protect all of us to live in a peaceful and secure country. And we must, as we mourn them and remember the families that they have left behind, Honorable Speaker, and I must commend the Kenya Defence Forces, because we have seen the support that they have extended not just to General Ogolla's family, but to the families of other officers who lost their lives, and others, Honorable Speaker, that I know who had lost their lives earlier in accidents, like the one that was there in Gong. And the military and the Kenya Defence Forces continue to offer very good support to those families. And also ask the House, Honorable Speaker, to also consider more budgetary allocations to the military to even be able to offer better.
Thank you, honorable members. We'll end here, and I want to echo what one of you said. Members of this House and leaders from the counties and constituencies in the North Rift, Elgeyo Marakwet, West Pokot, Baringo, Laikipia, Samburu, Turkana, and others. Please sit and talk peace. If we did not have peace challenges in those regions, the general would not have gone there to help construct special schools under special circumstances. Get together, talk peace, embrace peace. You are the leaders. The people who are fighting and raiding and killing each other are the people you lead. Take a moment of your time. Those young people wielding Kalashnikovs and G3s are our boys. Get down there and talk to them. Take them to school, reform them, give them alternative activities other than wrestling and killing each other. We will still be having General Ogolla, we will still be having the 9 other officers. The leadership must start from this house. If you want to amend the law to give an opportunity for you to spend part of your CDF on security issues, so be it, so that you can change the situation. Let's go back to the normal order. Before we call out the next order, allow me to recognize in the public gallery Syokimau East SDA Church Pathfinder Club from Mavoko, Machakos, and the Aga Khan School from Kisumu Central, Kisumu County. Next order.
Order number 3, messages.
Order. Member for Laikipia, take your seat. Honorable members, I have a message from the Senate on the appointment of senators to Mediation Committee, committees on the Employment Amendment Bill, Senate Bill number 11 of 2022, and the Natural Resources Benefit Sharing Bill, Senate Bill number 6 of 2022. Honorable members, pursuant to the provision of Standing Order 41(1) of the National Assembly Standing Orders, I wish to report to the House that I have received a message from the Senate regarding the appointment of senators to 2 mediation committees. The message conveys that pursuant to Article 113 of the Constitution, the Speaker of the Senate has appointed senators to mediation committees to consider the Employment Amendment Bill, Senate Bill number 11 of 2022, and the Natural Resources Benefit Sharing Bill, Senate Bill number 6 of 2022. Honorable members, with respect to the Employment Amendment Bill, Senate Bill number 11 of 2022, the Senate has appointed the following senators: Senator Julius Murgo Recha, MP; Senator Samson Cherargei, MP; Senator George Mungai Mbugwa, MP; Senator Miraj Abdullahi Abdurrahman, MP; Senator Mohamed Faki, CBS MP; Senator Eric Okongo Mogenis, Senior Counsel MP; and Senator Crystal Asige, MP. With regard to the Natural Resources Benefit Sharing Bill, Senate Bill number 6 of 2022, the Senate has appointed the following senators: Senator John Methu Muhia, MP; Senator Danson Mungatana, MGH, MP; Senator Dr. Steve Lutibesi Lelengwe, CBS MP; Senator Wahome Wamatinga, MP; Senator Jones Mwaruma, MP; Senator Agnes Kavindu Mudhama, MP; and Senator Beatrice Akinyi Ogolla, MP. All members, as you recall, in the month of March 2024, the House rejected the Employment Amendment Bill, Senate Bill number 11 of 2022, and the Natural Resources Benefit Sharing Bill, Senate Bill number 6 of 2022. This effectively committed the 2 bills to mediation committees pursuant to Article 1112(1)(a) of the Constitution. Subsequently, I appointed 7 members to each committee to represent the National Assembly via communication issued on 7th March 2024 and 13th March 2024. Following the appointment of the senators, the mediation committees are now fully constituted as contemplated under Article 113 of the Constitution. I therefore call upon the committees to expeditiously consider the respective bills and submit versions of the bills for consideration by the Houses of Parliament. In considering the bills, I hasten to remind the committees to be alive to the timelines provided under Article 1134 of the Constitution to ensure the bicameral process is concluded. I thank you. Next.
Order number 4, petitions. Order number 5, papers.
Majority.
Thank you. Honourable Speaker, thank you very much for giving us this opportunity. Honourable Speaker, I beg to lay the following papers on the table of the House today, Tuesday, April 23rd, 2024. 1. Legal notice number 64 of 2024 relating to the tax procedures, electronic tax invoice, regulations 2024, and the explanatory memorandum from the National Treasury and Economic Planning. 2. First half National Government Budget Implementation Review Report for financial year 2023-2024 from the Office of the Controller of Budget. 3. First half County Government Budget Implementation Review Report for financial year 2023-2024 from the Office of the Controller of Budget. 4. Report of the Auditor General and Financial Statements of National Heroes Council for the 13 months period ended 30th June 2023 and the certificate therein. 5. Reports of the Auditor General and Financial Statements for the year ended 30th June 2023 and the certificates therein in respect of A. Multimedia University of Kenya, B. National Environmental Management Authority, C. Kenya Export Promotion and Branding Agency, D. National Environment Complaints Committee, E. Konza Technopolicy Development Authority, and F. Center for Mathematics, Science, Technology, Education in Africa. I thank you, Honourable Speaker. I beg to lay.
Thank you, Chairperson, Departmental Committee on Trade, Industry and Cooperatives. Honourable Ketanyi.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. Honourable Speaker, I beg to lay the following paper on the table of the House today, Tuesday, 23rd April 2024. This is the report of the Departmental Committee on Trade, Industry and Cooperatives on its consideration of the Economic Partnership Agreement between the European Union and the Republic of Kenya. Thank you.
Chairperson, Departmental Committee on Justice and Legal Affairs, Honourable Murugara.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Honourable Speaker. I beg to lay the following paper on the table of the House today, Tuesday, the 23rd April 2024, a report of the Departmental Committee on Justice and Legal Affairs on its consideration of the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 10 of 2024. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Chairperson, Committee on Delegated Legislation. Chipkonga.
I thank you, Honourable Speaker. Honourable Speaker, I beg to lay the following paper on the table of the House today, Tuesday, 23rd April 2024. Report of the Committee on Delegated Legislation on its consideration of the Public Finance Management Kenya Millennium Development Fund Regulations 2024, legal notice number 51 of 2024. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Next order.
Order number 6, notices of motion.
Member for Aldai. You have 2 notices. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Honourable Speaker, I beg to give notice of the following motion, that aware that the world is rapidly embracing artificial intelligence, that is AI, which is the use of a digital computer or computer-controlled robots to perform tasks commonly associated with the intelligent beings, and acknowledging that the 2022 Government Artificial Intelligence Readiness Index report ranked Kenya 5th in Africa and 90th globally in readiness to adopt artificial intelligence, that's AI, and further acknowledging that the Oxford Insights Report 2022 pegged Kenya's readiness to adopt AI at 40.3%, and appreciating that AI has brought forth positive benefits that have increased efficiency in different sectors such as healthcare, manufacturing, and robotics, and concerned that the exponential rate at which the AI is being embraced in society without proper regulatory mechanisms has caused various negative consequences, such as rising case of disinformation and fake news, noting that there is need to protect Kenyans from potential AI-instigated harms, such as privacy breaches, AI-powered fake technology algorithms, and algorithmic discrimination, autonomous weapons. This House urges the government, therefore, through the Ministry of Information, Communication and Digital Economy, to formulate a regulatory framework and ethical guidelines for implementation of AI in the country to control potential misuse, and develop and execute public awareness program on artificial intelligence to raise understanding of AI, foster transparency, and promote responsible use of AI for the benefit of all. I go to the second motion. Honorable Speaker, I beg to give notice of the following motion, that aware that the government of Kenya has prioritized digitization and automation of government processes and services as part of the Kenya Digital Master Plan of 2022 to 2030, the blueprint for leveraging and deepening the contribution of information and communication technology, that's ICT, to accelerate the country's economic growth, and further aware that the government is committed to consolidating the industrial, academic institutions and other innovators to invest in emerging technologies to create high-quality jobs that leverage on artificial intelligence, robotics, and other technologies, and cognizant of the fact that the Kenya government intends to increase internet broadband connectivity across the country through construction of 100,000 kilometers of national fiber optic connectivity network, and concerned as a country rapidly digitizes services and processes, the high cost of data, internet services, as well as purchase of internet-enabled digital devices may lead to digital exclusion of a majority of Kenyans. Recognizing that there is need to bridge the existing gap in ICT to ensure inclusivity in access to internet and make Kenya a regional ICT hub while keeping pace with the shifting technological changes, and noting that the government's plan for a digital superhighway may not be realized without deliberate interventions to lower the cost data. Now, therefore, this House resolves that the Kenya government, through the Ministry of Information, Communication and Digital Economy, formulates a policy to, 1, regulate internet billing by internet service providers by providing metered billing of internet use based on consumption in order to mitigate exploitation and secure economic interests of internet users in line with Article 46 of the Constitution, and 2, require the internet service providers to develop and deploy quality metered billing systems capable of monitoring customer usage, convert to readable details, and creating invoices based on consumption and align their metrics with the value and the customers get from the various internet services. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Vice Chair, go ahead and give notice of the next motion.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Consideration of the Economic Partnership Agreement between Kenya and the European Union. Honorable Speaker, I beg to give notice of the following motion, that this House adopts the report of the Departmental Committee on Trade, Industry and Cooperatives on its consideration of the Economic Partnership Agreement between the Republic of Kenya and the European Union, laid on the table of the House on Tuesday, 23rd April 2024, and pursuant to the provisions of Section 8(4) of the Treaty Making and Ratification Act 2012, approves the ratification of the Economic Partnership Agreement between the European Union and the Republic of Kenya. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Chairperson, Committee on Delegated Legislation, Chepkonga.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I beg to give notice of the following motion, that this House adopts the report of the Committee on Delegated Legislation on its consideration of the Public Finance Management Kenya Millennium Development Fund Regulations 2024, laid on the table of the House on Tuesday, 23rd April 2024, and pursuant to the provisions of Section 24, subsection 4 of the Public Finance Management Act 2012, approves the Public Finance Management Kenya Millennium Development Fund Regulations 2024, legal notice number 51 of 2024, subject to regulation making authority publishing a corrigenda to correct the minor errors appearing in regulations 11 and 16. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Next order.
Order number 7, questions and statements.
Member for Mhaya.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I request for a statement regarding the current state of insecurity in the Mhaya constituency. Honorable Speaker, pursuant to provisions of Standing Order 44.2c, I rise to requests for a statement from the chairperson of the Departmental Committee on Administration and Internal Security regarding the rise of insecurity in the Mhaya constituency. Honorable Speaker, Article 29 of the Constitution provides for the right of every person to freedom and security. This includes the right not to be subjected to any form of violence from either public or private sources, or subjected to torture in any manner. Unfortunately, Honorable Speaker, there have been rampant cases of insecurity in the country and especially in the Mhaya constituency. For instance, on the night of 13th April 2024 at a Makaga shopping center in the Mhaya Northeast Bunyore ward, armed assailants attacked and killed 2 people, a Mr. Edward Atsivirwa of ID number 7350679 and a Mr. Luka Ongaya Hasere of ID number 1971558, who are businessmen and watchmen respectively. On the same night, Honorable Speaker, the assailants raided 3 shops in the area and stole an undetermined amount of goods and money. Additionally, a Mr. Samson Masiele of ID number 31814108 was killed on 23rd March 2024 in a Saba sublocation, a Mhaya constituency central ward, while 3 other people, namely Mr. Benson Maina, Mr. Joseph Achinga, Mr. Kenneth Ochingwa from Luanda, were murdered on February 24th, and their bodies dumped at Muluhoro near Luanda in the Mhaya constituency. Similarly, Honorable Speaker, Mr. Alfred Esikuri was killed and his head chopped off on September 2023 under unclear circumstances. Honorable Speaker, I rise on insecurity within the constituency places area residents in grave danger. Despite several efforts, the insecurity seems unlikely to reduce, seeing that the police stations are understaffed and without equipment such as patrol cars. Further, there seems to be a form of laxity among the law enforcers, which poses great risk to security of both residents and business owners within the constituency. Given that all officers are mopped up at night, Honorable Speaker, and taken to the border post at Mbali Police Station. Honorable Speaker, it is against this background that I request for a statement from the chairperson of the Departmental Committee on Administration and Internal Security on the following one, that what are the plans underway to equip the police stations in the Mhaya constituency with patrol vehicles in order to enhance the mobility of enforcing security officers? Number 2, what measures has the government put in place to ensure deployment of additional officers to police stations in the Mhaya constituency? And number 3, when does the ministry intend to gazette the police posts at Ebuhaya, Ipali, and Murembe for use and operationalization to enhance security in the area? Honorable Speaker, I add that the only vehicle which this area had for patrol of officers was taken away by the Vihiga County Police Boss for his personal use at the expense of the people in the area. And finally, Honorable Speaker, I also add that what are the plans which are underway to bring to book those who actually killed the Mr. Edward Atsibirwa and Luka Ongaya, so that the families may rest knowing the truth. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Chairman, Administration and Internal Security, Tongoyo, Razo, that's your committee?
Yes, Mr. Speaker.
2 weeks?
2 weeks, Mr. Speaker.
Okay.
Thank you.
Doris Donya.
Request for a statement, Mr. Speaker, regarding the harvesting and storage of water in the Nyanza region. Honorable Speaker, pursuant to Standing Order 44-2C, I rise to request for a statement from the chairperson of the Departmental Committee on Blue Economy, Water and Irrigation regarding the status of harvesting and storage of rainwater in the region, in Nyanza region, specifically in Kisii County. Honorable Speaker, Nyanza region, especially Kisii County, experiences heavy and reliable rainfall throughout the year. This county is also known to be the food basket of the country, owing to the fertile soil and consistent rainfall all year round. It is regrettable that immediately after the rains, our people flock to the springs and rivers to fetch water. With the absence of proper drainage, the area residents and animals are swept away by the resultant floods, causing deaths. Various attempts to approach different organizations to help in harvesting rainwater have been successful. Honorable Speaker, it is against this background that I request the chairperson of the Departmental Committee on Blue Economy, Water and Irrigation to appraise the House on the following. What strategies does the ministry intend to implement to harness the excess rainfall for long-term drought mitigation? What action plans has the ministry put in place to ensure proper drainage of rainwater to protect our citizens from being swept away by heavy rains and from being infected by waterborne diseases? What support mechanism is the ministry allocating to aid communities in at-risk areas during and after the heavy rains, including emergency relief? I thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you. Who is the chair of Blue Economy, Water and Irrigation? Bowen? Is he here? Any vice chair to that committee? Yes, Sioi, 2 weeks.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to just give a point of information to my colleague from Kisii, just to inform her that water is devolved in the counties, and whatever that she has raised here, Mr. Speaker, how I wish she could liaise with the county government, and this can be addressed at the county government.
It is not an argument between neighbors, Doris. Order, I approved your statement, so it's legitimately here. The order. The committee should bring order, Wanjala. You know that is out of order. Go to the bar, bow and cross the floor. You are the most senior member here. Committee of Blue Economy, you will bring a statement in 2 weeks. Next, John Mukunji, member for Manyata.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Pursuant to the provisions of Standing Order 44, Section 2C, I wish to request for a statement from the chairperson of the Departmental Committee on Health regarding the operationalization of Rehabilitation Fund. Honorable Speaker, over the years, the country has witnessed a growing problem of drug and substance abuse. Communities across the country have grappled with the issue of drug and substance abuse. with the devastating consequences of addiction adversely affecting individuals, families, and the society at large. In the recent past, there has been an upsurge in the prevalence of illicit brew consumption and narcotic drugs in regions across the country. The unregulated sale and distribution of this harmful substance has become widespread, leading to increased instances of drug addiction and a myriad of social and health issues. This alarming trend underscores the urgent need for holistic strategies to combat substance abuse effectively and holistically. Honorable Speaker, while the government has taken commendable steps through the enactment of punitive regulations and directives, it is essential to complement these actions with practices and policies that focus on prevention, treatment, and recovery services for individuals. Section 53 of the Narcotic Drugs and Psychotropic Substance Control Act of 1994 provides for the establishment of a rehabilitation fund to meet the expenditure relating to the running of rehabilitation centers, including the care and treatment of rehabilitated persons struggling with drug and substance abuse. However, despite the provision, there exists a gap in the operationalization and implementation of the rehabilitation fund, which hampers efforts to combat substance abuse effectively, as it will provide a necessary alternative to individuals struggling with substance addiction issues. Honorable Speaker, it is against this background that I request for a statement from the chairperson of the Departmental Committee on Health on the following, Honorable Speaker. Number one, Honorable Speaker, why the rehabilitation fund is currently not operational. Honorable Speaker, number two, provide a report on the number of rehabilitation centers operated by the government in the country and state what specific measures the government has put in place to help individuals struggling with drug and substance abuse. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Chair Health, Bukose. Honorable Bukose, 2 weeks. That is a request to your committee.
Yes.
2
Honorable
weeks.
Speaker, 2 weeks will be okay.
Thank you. Paul Nzengu.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to request a statement regarding the current state of allocations for roads maintenance and the Kera Development Fund for April to June 2024. Honorable Speaker, pursuant to Standing Order number 442C, I rise to request for a statement from the Chairperson, Departmental Committee on Transport and Infrastructure regarding the current state of county allocations under the Kenya Rural Roads Authority Development Fund for April to June 2024. Honorable Speaker, as members are aware, the implementation of Kera procurement plan on various roads maintenance projects commenced on the 15th of April 2024. According to the procurement plan and the distribution of the allocations, 4 counties, namely Garissa, Lamu, Samburu, and Vihiga, are left out without any allocation. 5 other counties, being Busia, Kilifi, Laikipia, Tana River, and Kwale counties, were allocated less than 8 million each. Honorable Speaker, 11 counties are allocated a sum of between 21 million and 50 million, and a further 13 counties allocated between 90 million and 170 million. Out of the total of 47 counties, only 3 counties are allocated a sum of a Kenya shilling 240 million. These allocations are very skewed, and neither do they represent the face of the country. It is an urgent matter that requires the intervention of this House, Mr. Speaker, which, if left unaddressed, will unfairly disadvantage many Kenyans. Guided by the provisions of the Kenya Roads Act 2007, the law requires equitable or equal allocation to all concerned counties where KERA exercise is mandate. Honorable Speaker, it is against this background that I seek a statement from the Chairperson, Departmental Committee on Transport and Infrastructure on the following. 1. Could the Chairperson explain the criteria used to allocate funds leading to the huge discrepancies noted and leaving other counties without any allocation? Number 2, Mr. Speaker, what measures is the government taking to alleviate against the unnecessary discrepancies in funding and ensuring that there is equitable development of the entire country? I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Nzengu. Chairman, Transport and Infrastructure. Where is the GK? Who is the Vice Chair? Majority Leader? Communicate to them that they bring the statement in 2 weeks.
I'm much obliged, Honorable Speaker.
Who is the Chair, Social Protection? Alice. Eh? Yes, ma'am. McLap, are you the one delivering a statement in respect to Lisa Chelule's request?
Yes, Mr. Speaker.
Go ahead.
Mr. Speaker, upon the request by the Honorable Lisa Chelule, MB, Nakuru County, we sought response from the Cabinet Secretary for Finance and National Planning as a committee, and I have the response from the Minister here, and I want to respond as follows. This is a submission from the National Treasury in response to the request for statement by Honorable Lisa Chelule, MB, Nakuru County, regarding the failure by the Paliarment Processing Company of Kenya, PPCK, to settle pension dues due to its pensioners. The National Treasury responded as follows. Paliarment Processing Company of Kenya, PPCK, was incorporated on 8th November 1963 as a limited company, a subsidiary company of the Paliarment Board of Kenya, with Paliarment Board of Kenya having almost 100% shareholding, according to the State Corporations Act, Cap 446, being a subsidiary of a state corporation. PPCK is by law a state corporation. Upon the commencement of the Crops and Agricultural and Food Authority Acts of 2013, PPCK assumed the commercial functions of Paliarment Board of Kenya. Agricultural Food Authority, AFA, became a regulator of the Paliarment industry by creating a directorate. These reforms in the Paliarment industry resulted in liberalization, attracting new players at various levels of the value chain. This resulted to AFA licensing 4 Paliarment processors that include PPCK. Other than PPCK, the other Paliarment processing companies are privately owned. The Paliarment Board of Kenya Staff Superannuation Scheme was established on 1st January 1991, constituted as a defined benefit. Under the scheme, the employees contributed 5% and employer 15%. Paliarment Board of Kenya employer started failing to remit pensions contributions around 2003 to the scheme administrator, Parklisban. So, Speaker, the PPCK business performance resulted in losses persistently since 1997. The company for a long time failed to remit staff, statutory, and other employee voluntary contributions to relevant authorities and institutions.
Mr. Speaker, following several reminders by the Retirement Benefits Authority, RBA, for Bilateral Board of Kenya to surrender non-core assets to scheme to avoid members missing their monthly pension, RPA launched a petition in 2012, petition number 24 of 2012, at a Milimani Commercial Court to wind up the scheme. On 1st December 2016, Mr. Speaker, the court directed the scheme to be wound up and sponsors' assets be liquidated to generate funds to pay the pensioners. Subsequently, in adherence to an order of High Court, the scheme was liquidated on 26 May 2017, and the official receiver was appointed. The official receiver, as a liquidator, had explored various avenues to secure funding of the pension scheme in order to settle the debt owing to PPCK pensioners and other beneficiaries. One of the avenues available to the receiver was disposal of non-core assets of PPCK. To date, Mr. Speaker, more than 70 out of 444 pensioners have passed on without receiving their dues. A cabinet memorandum on transfer of assets, the non-core assets of the Bilateral Processing Company, formerly PPK, to the scheme was submitted to the NDITC in May 2021. However, a decision is yet to be made. The PPCK's Board of Directors, at a meeting on 6 May 2022, passed a resolution that approved a transfer of 13 non-core assets valued at 1,151,792,000 to the official receiver to settle long outstanding dues to pensioners and beneficiaries of the Bilateral Board of Kenya Staff Superannuation Scheme. The Attorney General, via letter WC 24/2012, dated 23 May 2022, supported transfer on a non-core assets of PPK to pay pensioners. Subsequently, the National Treasury, via a letter TNT/Pence/12/5 dated 19 August 2022, advised that the transfer of 13 earmarked land parcels to the official receiver to offset the pension deficits awaits the decision of the Cabinet. The National Treasury, via a letter TNT/Pence/12/5 dated 15 February 2024, requested the Cabinet Secretary, Minister of Agriculture, to initiate a Cabinet memorandum to facilitate the transfer of identified non-core assets of PPCK, formerly PPK, to offset pension deficits. The National Treasury is concerned on the suffering of this group of beneficiaries who have visited us following up on the status of pension dues. On the last visit was on 31st January 2024. Towards addressing this kind of situation now and in the future, the National Treasury, as a matter of principle and policy, requires all government entities to manage their liabilities without recourse to the National Exchequer. It is on this basis that all pension schemes sponsored by the state corporations were converted beginning 2010/2011 financial year from defined benefits to defined contribution scheme. This is the order to minimize liabilities of the state corporations and, by extension, contingent liabilities to the National Exchequer. In conclusion, Mr. Speaker, the National Treasury and Economic Planning remains available to support the committee when called upon to respond to settle on the pension dues to PPCK pensioners. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Chelule, you've heard the statement. Are you satisfied?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir, for giving me this opportunity to respond to the answers that have been given by the chairman for social protection
You don't respond, you seek clarification even.
To comment, Mr. Speaker, sir, sorry.
Yes.
To comment. And I want to take this opportunity to thank the chairman for being committed to this question. And he was able to transfer the questions to the National Treasury. And the National Treasury, the CS for the National Treasury, has been able to explain in his answers all the chronologies that happened between the BBK and the Paliarment Processing Company of Kenya during that time. And I'm happy to report that I'm satisfied with the responses. And the reason why I'm satisfied is because the National Treasury have actually undertaken to instruct the Cabinet Secretary to the relevant committee to do a memorandum in relation to the payment of the pensioners. I will have a follow-up, Mr. Speaker, sir, to discuss with the relevant state officers on this matter, and I confirm that I am satisfied with the responses. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir.
Yes, Maclap. Any comment up to that?
Mr. Speaker, Honorable Jalure is indeed very satisfied with the response that we've given.
Thank you. Next order.
Order number 8, the County Licensing Uniform Procedure Bill, Senate Bill number 9 of 2022, question to be put. Second reading, question to be put.
Order, Rahim, take your seat. Order, Honorable Member. Kiborek, take your seat. Honorable members, I'll now put the question at order number 8, that the County Licensing Uniform Procedure Bill, Senate Bill number 9 of 2022 be now read a second time. As many as of that opinion say aye. Aye. Will those of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it.
A bill for an act of parliament to establish standard uniform procedures for licensing by county governments and for connected purposes. Order number 9, the Unclaimed Financial Assets Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 15 of 2024, first reading. A bill for an act of parliament to amend the Unclaimed Financial Assets Act and for connected purposes. Order number 10, the National Land Commission Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 43 of 2023, resumption of debate.
Honorable Peter Kihungi, is he in the house? He had 7 minutes to go. He's forfeited. Mishimbogo.
I can use the other one. Asante sana Mheshimiwa Spika. Mheshimiwa Spika, anasimama kuunga mkono mswada huu ambao unazungumzia mambo ya tume ya ardhi. Haswa tukizingatia kwamba Wakenya waliweza kupiga kura ya kubadilisha katiba, na moja katika mabadiliko ilikuwa ni kuunda tume ya ardhi. Na sababu ya kuunda tume ya ardhi ni kwa sababu kulikuwa na malalamiko mengi sana yanayohusu dhulma za kihistoria za ardhi. Tukiangalia katika kifungu 62 cha katiba kimezungumzia ya kwamba ardhi ya umma itakuwa chini ya usimamizi wa rais kupitia tume ya ardhi. Hivyo basi tume ya ardhi ni muhimu sana, na vile vile kifungu 67 kimezungumzia kuanzishwa kwa tume ya ardhi na kikazungumzia pia majukumu ya tume ya ardhi ikiwemo usimamizi wa ardhi za umma, na pia vile vile katika majukumu ni kusimamia zile tunaita ruzuku, ama kwa wale ambao hawataelewa grants, kuweza kuzisimamia na kutathmini ya kwamba ugavi wake ulikuwa sawa ama ulikuwa na shida. Na tukiangalia Mheshimiwa Spika, tunaona ya kwamba ule muda uliopatiwa Tume ya Ardhi katika kuangalia masuala haya ilikuwa ni muda wa miaka 5, ambapo sasa hivi tunachelea ya kwamba tume itaweza kukosa mamlaka hayo, na tukiangalia bado tuna matatizo nyeti sana, haswa kuangalia mambo ya dhulma za ardhi yaliyopita. Mheshimiwa Spika, tunaona ya kwamba katika machafuko mengi sana katika taifa letu la Kenya yalikuwa dhidi ya shida za ardhi, na ndio sababu tuliweza kusema tuwe na tume iweze kusaidiana na Wizara ya Ardhi katika kutathmini swala hili la matatizo ya ardhi na kuangalia zile ruzuku. Sasa hivi Mheshimiwa Spika, sehemu nyingi za taifa la Kenya kuna watu ambao walipatiwa ruzuku, na watu wale walipatiwa ruzuku kwa njia za kisiasa, njia ambazo hazikuwa muafaka na hazikuwa za usawa. Na watu wale hata utaona ya kwamba kule mashinani ama katika ardhi zile hawapatikani, hawaonekani, hawajulikani wako wapi. Na wakati serikali inataka kutatua matatizo ya maskota kutumia ardhi kama hizi ili waweze kuwapatia maskota, inakuwa ni shida kwa sababu wale waliopatiwa hawawezi kupatikana. Kwa hivyo masuala kama haya lazima Tume ya Ardhi iweze kuendelea na kazi yake ili tuweze kuangalia ruzuku hizi zilipatiana kwa njia gani. Je, wale waliopatiwa ruzuku hizi bado wako ama hawako? Na kweli walikuwa ni walengwa ama ni wale ambao walipata kwa kupitia njia za kisiasa na njia ambazo hazikuwa njia za usawa, ili tuweze kutathmini na kuangalia. Pia vile vile tunaona kuna kifungu 15(3) ambacho Mheshimiwa Owen amezungumzia kwamba lazima kifutwe, kwa sababu kikiwa hapo kitakuwa ni pingamizi ya kuweza kutekeleza shabaha za Tume ya Ardhi. Na tuweze kuangalia ya kwamba wakati wa Kenya waliweza kuzungumzia kuwekwa kwa Tume ya Ardhi ni kwa sababu wizara ilikuwa hapo kwa miaka mingi sana na haikuweza kutathmini, haswa kuangalia zile dhulma za kihistoria za mambo ya ardhi. Sasa hivi kwa mfano serikali iliangalia ile ardhi ya Mazurui kule sehemu za Kilifi, na ikaweza kusema kuwa itapeana pesa kwa wale wahusika ili kusaidia maskota walioko pale waweze kupatiwa ardhi kama zile na kugawanyiwa. Iwapo Tume ya Ardhi itasitishwa kufanya kazi yake, mambo kama haya ambayo yamefanyika itakuwa ni shida. Itakuwa tena turudi mwanzo tuone ya kwamba tatizo hili nyeti tutalifanya vipi. Katika taifa letu la Kenya, ukiangalia sehemu ya Bonde la Ufa, matatizo ya ardhi kwa kupitia dhulma za kihistoria ni mengi sana. Ukiangalia Pwani, matatizo kama hayo pia ni mengi sana. Ukiangalia sehemu za kati pia matatizo kama haya tumeyaona, na kwa jumla Kenya nzima kuna haya matatizo. Nimekuwa katika kamati ya ardhi katika bunge lililokwisha, na mpaka sasa Bi Spika, Mheshimiwa, ukiangalia zile kesi ambazo bado hazijapata suluhisho, bado hazijapata uamuzi wa kuweza kusaidia Wakenya ni nyingi mno. Na hata tukitathmini hivi sasa tuseme tume imetufanyia kazi ngapi katika kutatua dhulma za kihistoria za ardhi, katika kutatua mambo ya ruzuku, utapata ya kwamba bado shida ni nyingi na bado hatujapata uamuzi wowote ama kupata njia ya kuweza kutekeleza mambo kama haya. Kwa hivyo mimi nataka niseme tusianze kuvunja nguvu ama zile tume ambazo sisi wenyewe tuliziunda kupitia katiba ya mwananchi. Tulisema Wanjiku waliongea, tukasema Kadzo ameongea, tukasema Achieng' ameongea. Kwa hivyo wakati waliongea kwa sababu za kimsingi, haswa katika tatizo swala la ardhi. Na unajua Madam Speaker, swala la ardhi limeleta maafa katika taifa letu la Kenya. Swala la ardhi limeleta sitofahamu katika jamii, na haswa tukiangalia ardhi za umma. Hizo siku za nyuma watu walikuwa hawana uwezo wa kutengeza stakabadhi ama kuziweka katika njia ambayo ni ya kisheria. Watu walikuwa wanajua hino ni ardhi ya jamii fulani na wanajua hino ni ardhi yetu. Hivyo basi wale watu ambao ni waizi wa mashamba wakaweza kufanya mambo ambayo si halali, kuweza kupata umiliki ya mashamba ya umma ambayo si mashamba yao. Kwa hivyo Madam Speaker, ni lazima tupatiane tume ya ardhi nafasi muafaka, nafasi ya kutosha, ili Wakenya na jamii zote katika zile ardhi zetu za umma wawe watapata haki. Na iwapo hawatapata haki ama tutasitisha kazi ya tume ya ardhi, itakuwa zile fedha tulizotumia kubadilisha katiba, kuunda hino tume, kuweka makamishna na mambo mengi tuliyofanya, itakuwa ni kazi bure, na zile pesa za ushuru za mwananchi wa Kenya zitakuwa zimeenda pasi na kuwa na faida katika swala kama hilo. Kwa hivyo nataka niseme, Bi Speaker, swala hili ni swala nyeti, na swala hili lazima tulipatie kipao mbele, kwa sababu katiba yenyewe ishazungumzia, na sisi wenyewe kama viongozi hapa, hakuna mjumbe hapa ambaye hajaletewa matatizo ya ardhi, ya dhulma za kihistoria katika eneo bunge lake. Kila mahali kuna zile sehemu ambazo tumejua ilikuwa ni sana kama Bonde la Ufa na sehemu za pwani, lakini kwa jumla Kenya nzima imekuwa na shida na mambo kama haya. Vile vile pia tukisema ya kwamba swala hili tunaliacha, itabidi tena tuanze kutafuta tena sheria zingine ya kwamba jambo hili lirudi katika wizara ya ardhi, na tutengeze pia taratibu nyingine za kuwa waweze kusimamia swala kama hili. Na kwa nini turudi nyuma wakati tulikuwa tushakwenda hatua fulani ya kuweza kutathmini swala kama hili la dhulma za kihistoria na kuweza pia kuzungumzia mambo ya ruzuku. Vile vile tunajua hata kufikia sasa kuna mambo yale ya kulipa fidia ambayo pia yanasimamiwa na tume ya ardhi, na bado tuna matatizo nyeti. Tuna kesi ambazo bado hazijapata uamuzi, bado zimesimama, na bado Wakenya wanatuangalia sana kuona ya kwamba serikali iliyoko mamlakani itaweza kuwapatia afueni Wakenya katika swala hili, swala nyeti la ardhi. Kwa hivyo Bi Speaker, mimi nataka niseme ninamuunga mkono sana Mheshimiwa Owen Baya kwa kufikiria swala kama hili, manake haswa nikiangalia Kilifi kwake kuna kule Vipingo, sehemu ya Vipingo ambayo kuna ardhi zilitwaliwa kiholela ambazo nyingine zilikuwa ni ardhi za umma, na mpaka sasa watu hawajaregeshewa. Tuna wale ambao wanasema ardhi ni zetu lakini hawaonekani, kwa Kiingereza tunasema absentee landlord, na yote hayo ni katika zile dhulma za ardhi za kihistoria ambazo bado hazijatathminiwa na hatujapata suluhisho katika matatizo kama haya. Kwa hivyo ni muafaka kuweza kuwa na mswada kama huno na kupitisha sote kwa jumla pale tulipo kama viongozi wa bunge hili la kitaifa. Wakenya wanatuangalia, Wakenya wamehangaika sana, ardhi za umma za karibu jamii zote za taifa la Kenya wamepata shida. Asante sana Bi Speaker, asante sana Mheshimiwa Owen.
Member for Kisauni, Honorable Benzimba Rashid.
Asante sana Madam Speaker kunipa fursa hii ya kuzungumzia swala la National Land Commission. Ni vizuri sana kitengo hichi, kwa sababu taifa la Kenya uzito wote ambao au tatizo kubwa ambalo linakumba taifa hili ni swala la ardhi, na wao hasa walikuwa wamekuja kwa sababu ya kutatua uzito au matatizo ya ardhi yaliyotokea kipindi cha nyuma. Kikubwa ni kwamba ningeomba wapewe nguvu zaidi ili kusudi wawe wanaweza kutatua matatizo, si kusikiza halafu wanayawaachia katikati. Kuna ardhi nyingi ambazo wenyewe wako Oman, sehemu za bara la Arabu, wengine wako Ulaya, lakini ardhi zile ziko hapa na watu bado wanaambiwa ni maskwota. Anakuja tu mtu anasema mimi nimepewa kibali na koti kusimamia hii, kumsimamia mtu, lakini hata yule mtu mwenyewe mwenye ardhi halipi kodi ya county, halipi chochote. Kwa hivyo hii tume ya ardhi ipewe nguvu, ili ikigundua kwamba hii ardhi mwenyewe hayuko, wale wanaoishi pale waweze kugawanyiwa. wengi wamelia katika taifa hili kwa matatizo ya ardhi. Amejenga nyumba, amekaa kwa kipindi kirefu, halafu inatokea ghafla wanakuja wanavunjiwa majumba yao. Kwa hivyo Madam Speaker, mimi ningesema hii tume ya ardhi ya kitaifa izidi kupewa nguvu kisheria, ili wakati wanapogundua kwamba hili jambo kweli limefanyika katika dhuluma kihistoria, waweze kuwaganyia wale walioko pale. Pwani nzima ni historia ambazo za kidhuluma ambazo zilitokea, na hata mataifa hata huko juu upande wa bara pia wana shida kama hiyo. Kwa hivyo Madam Speaker, mimi nimesimama hapa pia kupongeza na kuunga mkono tume hii izidi kupewa nguvu na uwezo wa kuweza kutatua matatizo. Kwa hii nimesimama kuunga mkono. Asante sana Madam Speaker.
The Honorable Member for Buri, Honorable Mugambi. The Honorable Member for Kaloleni, Honorable Kahindi Katana.
Asante Bi Speaker kwa kunipatia nafasi niweze kuunga mkono marekebisho ya sheria ya tume ya ardhi. Bi Speaker, swala la ardhi ni swala nyeti ambalo limetoa tumbo joto katika nchi yetu. Pwani imeathirika sana na mambo ya mashamba. Watu wengi wameitwa maskota katika ardhi ambayo wamezaliwa, katika ardhi ambayo wameketi kwa zaidi ya miaka 50. Eneo langu bunge la Kaloleni halijasazwa Bi Speaker. Sehemu za Shangia na sehemu inaitwa Barracks, watu walikuja wakatolewa, wakapelekwa mahali kwingine. Wakifika kule ile ardhi walioahidiwa wakaambiwa hakuna, wakarudi pale. Hii ndio njia tume ya ardhi ndio ilikuwa ni tegemeo la Wakenya ambao wamepoteza mashamba yao. Tunataka kuipatia nguvu, kusiwe na muda wa wao kufanya uchunguzi wa dhuluma za mashamba. Iweze kupatiwa muda ili iweze kuchunguza, na inapobainika kwamba watu walidhulumika waweze kuregeshewa ardhi yao. Bi Speaker, ni jambo la kutamausha kwamba siku hizi mabwenyenye ambao wamekuwa wakichukua ardhi za watu wachochole ambao hawawezi kwenda mahakamani kujitetea, wametumia mahakama kama njia moja ya wao kujipatia ardhi kinyume cha sheria. Kumekuwa na uvunjaji wa majumba. Bi Speaker, inawezaje mtu ameketi kwa ardhi, amejenga nyumba yake, ameishi na familia yake kwa muda wa miaka 20 au 30 au 50, na hakuna mtu anayesema kwamba hii ardhi ni yangu, alafu anatokea tu mahali anasema mimi niko na stakabadhi? Kumekuwa na utepetevu katika idara ya ardhi. Tunataka hii tume ya ardhi iweze kuhakikisha kwamba inafanya haki. Tukiwa pia tunataka kuipatia nguvu ili iweze kuchunguza. Bi Speaker, pia kuna tabu ndani ya tume ya ardhi. Mimi niko katika kamati ya ardhi ya bunge, na kumekuwa na tuhuma nyingi sana kwamba tume pia huwa saa nyingine haiangalii yule mtu mdogo, inaangalia wale watu ambao wana uwezo. Bi Speaker, kufikia sasa tangu SGR ianze ile awamu ya kwanza, kuna watu mpaka leo hawajalipwa fidia, na ukiangalia pesa zao ni kidogo. Wale matajiri ambao walikuwa katika ardhi hizo wote wamelipwa. Kwa hivyo kuna utepetevu ndani ya tume ya ardhi. Tunataka kuwapatia nguvu, lakini pia lazima watendee haki wale wa Kenya ambao ni wanyonge. Wakiwa watafanya uchunguzi, Bi Speaker, tunataka tume ya ardhi iweze kusajili zile kesi zote ambazo watakuwa wamepatiwa na wananchi katika gazeti rasmi la serikali, ili tujue ni ardhi gani, ni sehemu gani ambao wanafanya uchunguzi. Na uchunguzi ukiisha, Bi Speaker, tunataka wakishatoa maoni yao, yale maoni yaweze kuzingatiwa na yapelekwe katika mahakama, iwe kama ambaye ni imeshapitishwa na mahakama kwamba ardhi ile iweze kuregeshewa wenyewe. Bi Speaker, tume ya ardhi ikishirikiana na wizara wanaweza kutatua tabu za ardhi hapa nchini, lakini shida ni maafisa ambao wako ndani ya tume ya ardhi na wengine wako katika wako katika wizara ambao ndo wanagandamiza na kuwadhulumu wale wananchi wadogo ambao kule mashinani hawawezi kutoa pesa, kutoa hatimiliki zao. Kwa hivyo ninaunga mkono urekebishaji wa sheria hii kusema kwamba tume ya ardhi ipatiwe muda wa kuweza kuchunguza dhuluma za kihistoria za ardhi, lakini pia nao wawe wazi, wahakikishe kwamba wanafanya haki, wanatendea haki nchi hii kwa kuhakikisha kwamba wale wanyonge ambao ardhi zao zimechukuliwa kimakosa ziweze kuregeshwa. Asante Bi Speaker kwa kunipata wakati huu, na asante Mheshimiwa Owen kwa kuhakikisha kwamba umeleta mswada huu wa kufanya marekebisho wa tume ya ardhi. Asante sana.
Member for Seme on.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me authority to the permission, give me the opportunity to contribute to this bill. I start by supporting this bill. Madam Speaker, what this bill seeks to do really is to restore the authority of the Land Commission through the National Land Act of reviewing the grants where there is a concern or where they petition that these grants were not granted in line with the law, or there were injustices that were involved. And therefore, it seeks to remove the 5-year limit that was placed on the Commission by the Act. Further, Madam Speaker, it also seeks in subsection 9 of section 4 to remove the need for the Commission to petition Parliament after the 5 years had lapsed. And also, Madam Speaker, in subsection 3 of section 15, it also seeks to remove the criteria or whatever the restrictions and the conditions under which these petitions were to be applied. And finally, Madam Speaker, it also seeks under section 15, subsection 11, to actually remove the limitation that indicated that after 11 years, the whole of this section is automatically repealed. To that extent, Madam Speaker, I support this bill because the problem of historical land injustice are actually very long-term things. They have been going on for a long time. They continue to go on. However, Madam Speaker, I do see that we can probably do an overkill. Because, Madam Speaker, if we now remove the 5-year limitation, it means that the Commission can actually review these grants forever. Anytime, even after review has been done, another person can come 30 years later and say they would like to review that. And also remember, when the 5-year restriction was placed in place, subsection 9 actually gave the Parliament the power to allow the Commission to actually review those grants even after the 5 years. So the expiry of 5 years is not really a total loss. The Commission can still do something. So, Madam Speaker, in my view, I would probably think that if we do this amendment as it is totally with all the 3 important aspects of it, we will have a situation where the review of grants on the grounds of historical injustices is actually forever. That is one thing which is not a bad thing. But then the restrictions that were put by section 15, subsection 3 is actually totally removed. So anybody can actually petition on any land at any time without any restrictions at all. And in my view, even what we seek to correct, what we seek to cure, we may actually fail, because we may now give a situation where even after a review has been done, somebody can come many years later and do the review. And in my view, Madam Speaker, the best way around it, and I've discussed this with the Honorable Buyer, is actually, instead of the 5 years, give an extension of 15 years, and then preserve the authority of Parliament to allow petition. If the Commission of Land requests, then it can be given, so that there's still some protection there, and also to leave alone section 3, subsection 3 of 15 part E, so that when somebody is coming now to seek a review of the grants, they actually have to have very good grounds for doing it. Otherwise, it can actually be a free-for-all, and it can actually open a Pandora's box. I support strongly the removal of subsection 11 of 15, which was giving a limitation of 11 years. So what we will have in that situation is that we extend the 15 years, we can go on. Even after the 15 years is over, we can actually resort to subsection 9 through Parliament, which will give us the authority, the National Lands Authority, to actually apply and give the reasons why, or whoever is doing it, to go through that. And then remove 11, so that that situation now exists in perpetuity. Even after 15 years, you still have subsection 9, where the National Land Commission can go through Parliament. I think that, in my view, Madam Speaker, will be a much safer situation than actually just removing everything. And I think land is so emotive that even many, many years later, people will come, and now there is no restriction. You don't need to petition anybody. You don't need to give reasons. You just ask the Land Commission to review the grants. So with that, Madam Speaker, I support with those concerns, and will probably bring amendments to the floor that can actualize the position that I'm proposing. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Marakwet West. Honourable Toretich.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker, for giving me an opportunity to contribute on this very important piece of legislation. Honourable Speaker, from the onset, I wish to thank the Honourable Member, Owen Bayer, for proposing such a progressive piece of legislation. Honourable Speaker, one of the most fundamental acts of Parliament that was passed by this House is the National Land Commission. Honourable Speaker, this legislation was very important because one of the issues that it seeks to address is the issue of historical land injustice in this country. Honourable Speaker, this is a challenge that as a country we've faced since time immemorial, and we hoped that this commission will be able to address this issue once and for all. Honourable Speaker, it is unfortunate that the drafters of this particular legislation put some sunset clauses that set in serious clawbacks in terms of implementation of this particular legislation. Honourable Speaker, this commission was established under Section 67 of the Constitution, Article 67 of the Constitution. Honourable Speaker, that article provides very clearly under 67(1)(e) that this commission was to initiate that one could initiate a complaint into present or historical land injustice and recommend appropriate redress. Honourable Speaker, the unfortunate thing is that the sunset clause on 5 years meant that that injustice or that claim could not be processed if it was more than 5 years. Honourable Speaker, the proposed amendment to remove that 5 years clause, Honorable Speaker, means that any individual who has a claim can now raise that issue without the sunset clause of 5 years. Honorable Speaker, where I come from, for example, in my constituency, we've had issues with one of the lands, that is Chebororwa ATC farm. Honorable Speaker, we believe as a community, as a constituency, that that particular land was and is still under my constituency, which is Marakwet West. Honorable Speaker, we believe strongly that that land belongs to Elgeyo Marakwet County. How the same was transferred and located to Uasin Gishu County, Honorable Speaker, is a historical land injustice that if this issue is opened, if the 5-year term limit is reopened, Honorable Speaker, we as a community will be able to look at it and address it as a historical land injustice. Honorable Speaker, even in my constituency, there is a land in Kapsowar town which was taken and reallocated for purposes of administrative offices. Honorable Speaker, as we speak, that issue has not been addressed. Those who are moved from that parcel of land have not been paid, have not been compensated. Honorable Speaker, I strongly believe that extending the time for looking into historical land injustices will be able to address that particular issue. Honorable Speaker, the only issue that I would wish, and I will bring an amendment when it comes to the Committee of the Whole House, is that Honorable Owen Baya could have set a timeline that this historical land injustice would be addressed. Honorable Speaker, my proposal is it should not take more than 1 year, because if it takes more than 5 years, then it also turns out to be an injustice if that matter is not addressed within a specific timeline. So, Honorable Speaker, I believe that when it comes to the Committee of the Whole House, I'll be able to move an amendment so that the time of addressing that issue is capped at a certain time limit. Honorable Speaker, I also support the amendment under 15.3 that, there is a provision of 15.11 of deleting 15.11, which provides very clearly that that section is capped at 11 years. Honorable Speaker, it was unfortunate that when this law was put in place, that section 15 would lapse after 11 years. Section 15 addressed the issue of historical land injustices. So, Honorable Speaker, if we remove that section, if we repeal that 1511, it means now that historical land injustices in this country would not be time-bound. It could be looked at, it could be reviewed at any period of time without the capping of time of the 11 years. But Honorable Speaker, it is also important that as we look at this provision, we look at the issue of we review other statutes apart from this particular legislation, which has capped time to 5 years, so that historical land injustices would be addressed in a present case, in an historical case, so that time limit would not affect the issue of reviewing an historical injustice. Honorable Speaker, I wish to rest my case there. I support this proposed amendment, and I pray that the members here in the House will support the same. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you. The Honorable Member for Tharaka.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I rise to support the bill on the National Land Commission Amendment 2023. And on the face of it, the bill appears to just be doing minor amendments, while in essence, these amendments have a far-reaching effect on the National Land Commission and what it is supposed to do. It is vitally important to note that through these particular amendments, we have to extend the power of the Commission to continue reviewing all grants and dispositions of public land, to establish their propriety or legality, since Section 14 of the Act has lapsed. Many Kenyans do not know what the National Land Commission does. It is actually supposed to be dealing with the public land. We've actually made it appear like it is the commission that deals with all the land in the country, while this is not the case. The mandate of the commission is on the public land, and especially protecting the rights appurtenant thereto. Because historically, Kenyans have found it extremely befitting to grab public land. To grab means to take land that belongs to the public illegally and without following the due process. What we come up with is today, in the country, if you want to put up any public institution, it may become extremely difficult because public land is almost gone. This is why we came up with the National Land Commission to protect those rights, and where public land is actually taken away, this is the commission that will confirm whether what was done was proper or improper. And what happens is once it makes a declaration that the acquisition was improper, then immediately it starts repossession process. So with the Section 14 lapsing, it means the National Land Commission cannot perform this function. It is left toothless. It will just be there to watch as greedy and hungry Kenyans go about taking public land to the disadvantage of the common citizen. Extremely important why this proposed amendment has been made, and we should actually support the proposal. Another function of the National Land Commission is to address the issue of historical injustices. We know very well, since the advent of colonialism, we have been crying because of land matters unjustly taken away from us. First, it were the colonialists themselves who thought that, in fact, Africans had no land rights. So they went about grabbing our land with no compensation whatsoever, and then eventually we were headed into settlement areas, and the right to land was never recognized until in the mid-50s. And even where they did this, it was extremely unfair, especially to the residents of central Kenya, because instead of recognizing the land rights to benefit the Africans, it was a tool to punish those they thought had gotten involved in the Mau Mau freedom fight. So through various mechanisms, including establishment of the Registered Land Act for the first time, it made it mandatory that the owner of the land who actually held title had a title that was indefeasible. It could not be challenged under whatever circumstances. And therefore, the freedom fighters who were up in the mountains fighting for independence found themselves landless. So the law was used to dispossess them. And that was an historical injustice. Soon after that, there were attempts to gain more land through the settlements that were being created, through enactment of other laws which, although they were trying to reduce the sanctity of titles, the sanctity remained paramount and unchallengeable. But it's important to note today that, in fact, if you obtain a title deed in a manner that is improper, then the court has the power to declare that acquisition a nullity. Historical injustices came in when we set into politics. We know very well there were clashes, political clashes from time to time, and the people were displaced. There may have been arguments that the way so and so acquired that land was improper. Whatever it is, it belongs to a community and not the other community. But we found lots and lots of people dispossessed. The net effect is these were historical injustices. And I can give an example of my own constituency, Tharaka, because we had made settlements in the larger Meru. That time we were actually one district, as they were called, and we had settled all over. Clashes were engineered by politicians on the basis that people from the Tharaka constituency had settled in areas that were not theirs, the net effect of which was to drive them out of that land. Eventually, because possibly they had the powers, they went ahead to subdivide the lands and acquire titles. And when the people of Tharaka complained about those injustices, they were told the land is already demarcated and titles have been issued to third parties, and those titles are indefeasible. It is for this reason that those people had to go to the National Land Commission to seek redress on the basis that a historical injustice had been committed upon them. There are other injustices which we can also name, including double allocation of pieces of land, where you find two titles on one piece of land. And what happens is, whichever way, through the courts or through the National Land Commission, one of the titles has to go. If these are proper titles, then somebody somewhere would have to be compensated because an injustice has occurred. Another common type is where you find absentee landlords. They own large tracts of land under one title. They do not cultivate that land, and whom they call trespassers have actually moved in. And some of them have been there for more than 12, 20 years. They've acquired rights, proprietary rights to this land under the doctrine of adverse possession, and therefore they rightly claim the land to be theirs. When you go to court, we have a title and we have another claim under adverse possession. Whichever way the courts decide the case, one party is likely to suffer injustice, and that party possibly has to go to the National Land Commission for redress. This is why this becomes very important. The proposals to amend Section 15 of the Principal Act and ensure that we now have the National Land Commission retaining its original powers in spite of the fact that sections 14 and 15 may have lapsed. So with those remarks, I do support this bill and urge the House we actually pass it. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honorable Rashid Bedzimba. Did you want to catch the Speaker's eye or the Chair's eye? Can you give him the mic? Because I see your name here.
Asante sana Mheshimiwa Spika.
Proceed.
Kunipa fursa na mimi niongeze kuzungumzia swala la tume ya ardhi. Tume ya ardhi ni kitengo muhimu sana katika taifa letu, kwa sababu shida kubwa katika taifa ni mambo ya ardhi. Na katika historia ya dhulma za kihistoria ni kwamba
Order, Honorable, did you contribute on this motion?
Yes. I contributed.
Yeah, but then why do I have your name here again? No, okay, you can't contribute twice on the same. Can you give the opportunity to Amina Munyazi? Order. The rules are very clear. You can't contribute twice on the same motion.
Asante sana Mheshimiwa Spika. Na leo ninaposimama hapa nataka nimshukuru ndugu yangu na jirani yangu Mheshimiwa Owen Baya kwa kuweza kuleta mswada kama huu hapa bungeni. Na nisimame hapa Mheshimiwa Spika kuweza kuunga mkono huu mswada wenye ambao uko hapa mbele yetu. Na najua mswada huu mpaka hapa ambapo umefika ni kwa sababu katika watu ambao walioweza kuathirika zaidi Mheshimiwa Spika, basi sisi kama wapwani, hususan upande wa Kilifi County, tunaweza tukasema ya kwamba masuala ya ardhi yamekuwa ni jambo la donda sugu sana kule kwetu. Mheshimiwa Spika, mimi naunga mkono Mheshimiwa Spika ili hii tume ya ardhi iweze kuongezewa muda wa utendakazi wao. Mheshimiwa Spika, kama hivi leo ninavyozungumza, niko na furaha ya kuweza kuwatangazia wabunge wenzangu kwamba hata hivi leo nimetoka katika ofisi ya tume ya ardhi ili kuweza kufuatilizia yale masuala ya Malindi, uwanja wa ndege wenye ambao kuna watu ambao mpaka dakika hii hawajaweza kulipwa ili kuweza kupanuliwa ule uwanja wa ndege wa Malindi. Katika hii tume ya ardhi, Mheshimiwa Spika, imekuwa ni mahali ambapo tunakwenda kupeleka vilio vyetu na tumeweza kupokelewa vizuri Mheshimiwa Spika. Na ninaposema hivi Mheshimiwa Spika, mimi kama mbunge wa Malindi nataka niseme ya kwamba kesi ambazo dhulma za kihistoria hususan upande wa ardhi, title deeds ndani ya Malindi, Mheshimiwa Spika, bado ni nyingi sana. Inashangaza ya kwamba wale wenye Malindi, wanati wa Malindi, wenye ambao wamezaliwa tangu mababu zao kutoka Malindi, mpaka dakika hii wengi wao Mheshimiwa Spika hawana title deed na hawezi kujivunia mahali ambapo wamezaliwa na mahali ambapo wanapaita nyumbani. Mheshimiwa Spika, ardhi nyingi za Malindi zimeweza kuzuiliwa na mabwenyenye, watu ambao hatuwajui, hatuwatambui na hatujui wamepata vipi ardhi zile ambazo ziko Malindi. Tumeona mara nyingi Mheshimiwa Spika, watu wangu wa Malindi wakiweza kuvunjiwa manyumba yao, wakiweza kudhulumika kwa njia moja au nyingine. Kwa hivyo leo hii mimi Mheshimiwa Spika, ninaposimama hapa naunga mkono huu mswada kwa sababu najua jambo la kwanza, tume ya ardhi imekuwa ni mahali ambapo tumekimbilia na mahali ambapo wameweza kutupatia sikio, na niko na uhakika katika upande wa ardhi zile za kule pwani kuna suluhisho nyingi ambazo zimeweza kutufikia kwa kupitia tume ya ardhi hii. Mheshimiwa Spika, tukikata mikono hii tume ya ardhi, niko na hofu na wasiwasi ya kwamba kuna zile kesi ambazo ziko pale tayari katika tume ya ardhi ambazo mpaka dakika hii hazijaweza kukamilika. Tunapowafunga mikono hii tume ya ardhi, wale watu wenye ambao walikuwa tayari hizi kesi zao zimeshaanza, wataenda wapi na watasikilizwa na nani tena? Kwa hivyo mimi mapendekezo yangu kama vile Mheshimiwa Owen Baya na wale wabunge wengine ambao walivyosema ni kwamba tuunge mkono mswada huu, tuzidi kuwapatia nguvu hii tume ya ardhi, tuweze kuwaongezea muda ili waweze kutatua zile shida za ardhi zenye ambazo tumekuwa nazo zote. Mheshimiwa Spika, asante sana.
Emilio Diambo, did you contribute on this motion? Proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this opportunity. Mr. Speaker, I wish to congratulate Honorable Owen for bringing this bill, and I support, but with proposed amendments. Mr. Speaker, the principal object of the bill is to amend the National Land Commission Act number 5 of 2012 to confer back to the National Land Commission the power to continue reviewing all grants or dispositions of public land to establish their propriety or legality since Section 14 of the Principal Act has since elapsed. Mr. Speaker, I want to agree with the members that it is indeed important that we ensure that the Commission is enabled to do the work that it did not complete. However, at the same time, we must go back to the legislative history and find out why there was a limitation. As a person who was involved in the making of the constitution of the country, I can tell you, if you look at the schedule, Mr. Speaker, virtually every law we provided for a timeline. And I sat in the select committee that was developing that law. And the essence was that we know that land is a very emotive issue, and especially on the issue of historical land injustices that has created conflict. We have seen women displaced, we have seen old men displaced, we have seen children displaced, and whole communities displaced because of the emotive issue of land. And that is why you are saying that if there's a thorny issue, especially in the coastal region, where there have been issues of land injustices, you cannot leave it open forever. Mr. Speaker, if you leave for the Land Commission the opportunity to let this matter go on and on without a time frame, then it will become another cash cow, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, you know that in this country, and I've said it before on the floor of this House, that when you see a task that is never completed, it's because people want to eat out of it. And therefore, it is important, and I'd want to encourage my brother, Honorable Owen Baya, that do not just consider leaving it open, because then it will not be sorted. Every time you will ask about whether the issue of the historical land injustices have been sorted, you will be told we are working on it. And you are working on it because other people have their own interests. Some people will be interested in acquiring land that they have discovered. Others will be interested in selling land that they have no title to. Others will be, and you know how land in this country is. And that is why we provided a timeline. My suggestion would be that you actually go by the what was provided in the original bill, or rather in the original act, that you give it a timeline, even if it's not 5 years, maybe 10 years, maybe 15 years, but with a mandate to report back to Parliament and indicate to Parliament what has actually been done. What steps have they covered? How far have they gone? Because otherwise you'll just have this on and on and on. The other challenge that I have is a suggestion to actually remove the criteria, especially on the issue of historical land injustices. When you do that, you actually make it discretionary, and you know that in this country, we are not in love with the discretion. Anybody that is given discretion tends to abuse discretion. And that is why if you look at even earlier legislation on this House, we tend to tie hands. And that's why sometimes I disagree with the courts. For instance, in the case of a Sexual Offences Act, that we provided for minimums. And the reason we provided for minimums is that you would expect that a very sober and normal person, if you went before them and you told them that maybe a 60-year-old man has raped a 3-year-old, that they will jail them for life. But there are people who would then use the discretion to let that person go off on probation. And that is why we said as a Parliament on certain issues, you need to guide even the commission that is doing that. It is not taking away their independence. It's basically also empowering them with the tools so that they are not considered as misusing that discretion. So perhaps that is one of the things that you need to reconsider, even if it means you provide other standards, but provide those other standards that will guide them not to misuse or abuse. And unfortunately, I don't know why human beings, God gives us the opportunity to learn and we don't learn. If I remember, and sometimes Parliament is the most amazing. I'm just about to release my book. And I always tell people that the change of guard is one event away. In the last Parliament, you are here, we were the ones making faces at you. Now you are the one sitting there as, what is your title, Deputy Whip or Deputy Whip? Yet while you are sitting there, you forget that circumstances change. It's just one event away. And sometimes that event is as sad as General Ogolla dying in a crash. The family's tears has hardly dried, but somebody else has been sworn and is already doing his work. So in the same manner, when you are making laws, make laws for your good times and your bad times. Make a law that will work for you in season and out of season. And that is why I know there's been a lot of concern about the proposed amendments, that it might create new, I don't want to call them historical because they are no longer historical, current injustices. That there are people who are seeking to punish others who they deem to have taken land. Now it is our time to grab. Let us now put a wider time frame so that we can grab that land. Grab it knowing that people will come for your own children. The same way I'm saying you are sitting there, just a few months ago, you are not sitting there. Why can't God just give us the grace and mercy to learn that circumstances change, learn to be fair, learn to play by the rules, so that we don't put our children at a fix. But above all, so that we can also bring stability in this country. There are things that we have had a lot that has become like broken telephone. It's the way nowadays I hear people talking all the time about colonialism. We can't do this because we are colonized. By the time the colonialists left, I had not been born. So why am I blaming colonialists all my life? Yes, we were colonized, yes, but what are we doing about it? Get up and get and change your lifestyles. We can't blame people all our lives. And I think as a country, we should be tired of hearing the issue of historical land injustices. And that's why we need a time frame, sort out those issues, and let us hear the concerns about Gen Zs who are giving us lectures as their parents. How do you deal with those ones? How do you deal with AI? How do we deal with other issues that are emerging that are faster than us? Instead of now, we are dealing with the historical land. There are things that are here in this house. My left ear is blocked. I don't know if it's because of things like that. For the last 3 days, my ear has been blocked. Perhaps it's because we are not moving forward. And we had actually started so wonderfully when we came up with the Constitution in 2010. We passed a plethora of laws that was forging the country forward. And my worry is we seem to be having a clawback. It reminds me of recently when we went for a women's forum in Rwanda. And we met this Caucasian woman who is in her mid-30s. And she was introduced to me and Senator Catherine Muma, and she burst out crying. And we didn't know what to do with her. And then we asked her, what's the problem? And she said, I am so frustrated. In the women's agenda, we make steps forward, 10 steps forward, 15 backwards. And I told her, don't be worried. We may appear to be doing so, but there are small gains that we are making. Can we as a country lead by example? Let us be the example in Africa by showing that we can make strides where other areas are actually, other countries are stagnated or are going back. Please, Honorable Baya, this is a good bill, but reconsider the issues that will keep us in a rut as a country, where others want to now grab because it's our time to eat. I support with amendments.
Washako done.
Asante Mheshimiwa Spika. Masuala ya ardhi ni masuala nyeti, ni masuala ambayo Bunge la Kitaifa likipata nafasi kama hii ya kuyajadili, ni muhimu sana tuwe na watu wengi ambao wanaongea masuala haya. Kwanza nimpongeze Mheshimiwa Owen Baya ambaye ameleta mswada huu kubadilisha kipengele cha sheria ya tume ya mashamba section 14 iliyosema kwamba tume ilikuwa na miaka 5 peke yake ya kuangazia dhuluma za kihistoria kuhusiana na mashamba. Mheshimiwa Spika, masuala ya mashamba ni mazito. Kule Pwani wenzangu wamesema, mbunge wa Malindi ameongea na wabunge wengine wamechangia mswada huu wakisema kwamba, na ni vizuri sana mswada huu umeletwa na mbunge wa Pwani, kwa sababu sisi dhuluma za mashamba za kihistoria zimekuwa donda sugu nchini kwetu. Nikikupatia tu mfano mdogo, Mheshimiwa Spika, na hata idara za serikali kama mfano KWS, shirika la wanyamapori kule Taita Taveta lilichukua 62% ya mashamba ama ya shamba la Taita Taveta. Ukienda shirika la magereza Kenya Prisons ilichukua mashamba mengi sana, si Taita Taveta peke yake, lakini najua ndani ya nchi yetu imechukua mashamba makubwa. Ukiangalia sana Mheshimiwa Spika, mashamba yale yaliyochukuliwa na KWS, yaliyochukuliwa na prisons na mashirika mengine yamebaki hata bila kutumika, na wananchi wanakosa sehemu za kufanyia maendeleo. Tunavyojua kwamba shamba ama mashamba ndio kiungo muhimu sana katika uzalishaji wa mapato nchini. Kwa hivyo Mheshimiwa Spika, shida hizi ama kuendelea kupeana fursa kwa tume ya mashamba nchini iendelee kuangazia changamoto ama zilizoletwa na mashamba yaliyochukuliwa kinyume cha sheria na dhulma ambazo zimekuja kupitia mambo haya ya mashamba ni jambo la kuungwa mkono. Sasa mimi naunga mkono sheria hii na nikisema yafuatayo, Mheshimiwa Spika. Kuna mabwenyenye ambao walichukua mashamba lakini hata leo hawayafanyii chochote, na nchi yetu tumekuwa tukitafuta sana ni vipi tutaongeza mapato ya nchi. Yatakana bunge hili kando na kuongeza muda wa kuchunguza mambo haya, bunge hili pia liweze kuangazia sana ile ushuru wa mambo ya mashamba, ile tunaita kizungu idle land tax, ili wale walio na mashamba makubwa na hawayafanyii chochote, hawazalishi chakula, hawapatii watu wafanye nayo biashara, basi kutozwe ushuru mkali ili waweze kutumia mashamba yale. Manake wengi wameyashikilia tu, baadaye miaka inayokuja wanauza, wanatengeza pesa nyingi, na pia wanakosa hata kuchangia katika kikapu cha serikali cha mapato. Mheshimiwa Spika, nitaje mashamba matatu ambayo yanatusumbua sana pale kwetu Taita Taveta. Kuna shamba ama niseme kando na kusumbua, wananchi wanalalamika sana, manake mpaka leo hatuna uhakika mashamba yale yalichukuliwa vipi, mashamba yale wale walio nayo wanayafanyia kazi na wananchi wanalalamika. Kuna shamba pale kwangu Undanyi linaitwa Kidai Estate, ambalo lilikuwa ni shamba la makonge miaka iliyopita na limekaa bila kutumika kwa muda mrefu. Shamba lile inasemekana kwamba liliuzwa na ni shamba la ekari 10,000, na shamba lile already, Mheshimiwa Spika, shule zimejengwa ndani, kuna shule 2 ndani, kuna watu karibu 6,000 ndani, lakini kila mara wananchi wakiwa pale wanawasiwasi kwamba watafurushwa. Shamba lingine, Mheshimiwa Spika, ambalo leo limeleta tumbo joto kule Taita Taveta ni shamba la makonge linaitwa Taita Estate. Ile shamba, Mheshimiwa Spika, wenye shamba lile waliweza kuonyesha documents za kuonyesha kwamba walinunua shamba lile, lakini Mheshimiwa Spika, wananchi bado wanalalama sana kwa sababu ekari 33 kule Mwatate limekuwa likipandwa makonge. Imefika kipindi sasa wenyewe wamekata 300,000 wanataka kuuzia wananchi, lakini wananchi hawaelewi kwa nini shamba lile ambalo kwa kidhati kabisa lilichukuliwa kwa wananchi wa Taita Taveta leo litauziwa vipi watu wale wa Taita Taveta. Lakini niseme kwamba hii shirika la ama tume ya National Lands Commission pia hata tunapoongezea muda Mheshimiwa Spika, lazima pia waajibike, manake kuchanganyikiwa kwingi kwa mambo ya mashamba nchini kumelesababishwa sana na hii tume ya mashamba. Mheshimiwa Spika, kuna mara nyingi tukiwaita waje wafafanulie wananchi mambo ya mashamba yale ambayo yalichukuliwa, wananchi wanajua yalichukuliwa, lakini wenyewe wanasema wako na haki miliki. Wenyewe hawa watu wa Lands Commission, Mheshimiwa Spika, wanachelewa, hawataki kuja kukutana na wananchi ili kuwaeleza kinagaubaga ni nini ama haswa msimamo wa sheria ya shamba lile uko wapi. Kwa hivyo Mheshimiwa Spika, tunapoongezea muda wa kuchunguza mambo haya, lazima pia waajibike kwa kazi zao. Kama sasa hapa nimeandika barua kutoka kwa ofisi yangu Mheshimiwa Spika, na watarajia waje kwa wananchi kule Taita Taveta, waje wawaeleze kabisa haswa msimamo wa serikali, msimamo wa tume ile kuhusu shamba la Taita Estate, ili kama ni wananchi wataekeza kununua shamba lile, wawe wana uhakika kwamba wanafanya jambo ambalo liko sawa kisheria, na kama kuna tatizo la umiliki wa shamba lile, basi Lands Commission ije na iseme wazi kwamba kuna shida. Lakini wakiacha watu, kizungu wanasema in abeyance, hatujui ukweli uko wapi, basi wanatuchanganya. Mheshimiwa Spika, mwisho Mheshimiwa Spika, ninapomaliza niseme kuna wakati tulipojipatia katiba mpya 2010 tulisema kwamba mashamba muda wa lease ile tulikuwa tunapeana 999 miaka 90 miaka 1000 kupungua moja, Mheshimiwa Spika, ulipunguzwa mpaka miaka 99. Lakini bado kuna mashamba mengi mpaka leo hatuna uhakika, manake wenyewe wanauza na unakuta wanauza na wale ambao wasiofuatilia sheria sana wanakuta wanaingizwa katika hali ya kununua shamba ambalo miaka yake imebaki kidogo ile lease kuisha. Mheshimiwa Spika, kwa hivyo hii Lands Commission, Mheshimiwa Spika, iko na nafasi kubwa ya kutatua shida za nchi hii yetu ya mashamba, na mimi ninaunga mkono sana mswada huu kwa sababu najua tumepata shida sana, watu wangu wamepata shida, watu wa Pwani wamepata shida na sehemu zingine nchini Kenya. Mheshimiwa Spika, na niseme Mheshimiwa Spika, wakati kuna titles ama hati miliki zilitolewa, Mheshimiwa Spika, hadi leo utakuta hati miliki zilitolewa na Wizara ya Ardhi, Ministry of Lands, na hawa watu wetu, hawa tume ya mashamba, National Lands Commission, wanasema kwamba title zile ama hati miliki zile si za sawa. Sasa katika kuchanganya masuala haya ya ardhi, Mheshimiwa Spika, ni Ministry of Lands ama Wizara ya mashamba ambapo na hii ya Lands Commission lazima wajifunze kufanya kazi pamoja, wasichanganye wananchi. Manake kuna titles tuko nazo Mheshimiwa Spika, Lands Commission wanaandika barua wanasema that wanaita ni fake, lakini ukienda kwa Lands wanakuambia title iko sawa. Sasa masuala haya lazima Mheshimiwa Spika, katika serikali ya Kenya Kwanza, na Mheshimiwa Owen yuko hapa, ni vizuri wapeane mwelekeo. Kuna titles zimekuwa challenge na Lands Commission, na kuna titles Ministry of Lands wanasema ziko sawa. Haya masuala lazima, for us to solve these issues za lands, za masuala ya shamba, Kenya Kwanza lazima come up with a clear land policy ya kusema kwamba basi titles ambazo zimekuwa kizungu wanasema questionable zipate kurudishwa, na watoe msimamo kamili wa serikali ili wananchi wapate kuelewa masuala haya yataenda vipi. Nikimaliza Mheshimiwa Spika, hivi karibuni kulibomolewa watu nyumba zao kule Voi. Watu wa Msambweni walivunjiwa nyumba zao kwa sababu ya kwamba mwenye ardhi yuko na hati miliki, na wananchi walikuwa wamejulishwa kwamba serikali inafuatilia masuala haya. Hii serikali ambayo ilikuwa inafuatilia masuala haya, ilipofika siku ya kubomoa, wale wanaitwa county commissioners na wakubwa wa polisi walikuja na mabunduki, wakabomolea, wakasimamia ubomoaji wa mashamba. Mheshimiwa Spika, nataka nikashifu swala hilo lilipita, lakini niseme kwamba hata hawa commissioners wetu na vyombo vya serikali na Ministry ya Interior, wakati wanapokuja kubomolea watu wakati koti imetoa ruhusa ya kubomoa nyumba za watu, hawana ruhusa ya kuja na mabunduki kutishia wananchi wakati wanataka vitu zao, either watoe polepole ama waketi na mwenye shamba wazungumze. Mheshimiwa Spika, masuala haya lazima kama Asante Mheshimiwa Spika. Mheshimiwa Spika, ungekuwa unasimama nafasi ya urais ningekupa kura yangu. Sasa Mheshimiwa Spika, kule Msambweni Mheshimiwa Spika, tumepoteza watu, hata watu wamepoteza maisha yao kwa sababu walipobomolewa. Siku ya kubomolewa Mheshimiwa Spika, mimi nilikuwa pale. Sasa utakuta wale wanaosimamia ubomoaji ule ni wale wa polisi ambao wamekuja na wakubwa wa polisi, ukubwa wa county commissioner, wametuma watu wanasumbuka, wanalalamika, wanapata shida, lakini watu ambao wamepewa nafasi ya kuweka usalama wanaketi pale, wanaruhusu watu wabomolewe. Mheshimiwa Spika, tunataka tukemee visa hivi na vyatakana, na rais najua William Ruto alisema yeye akiwa mamlakani watu hawatawahi bomolewa nyumba zao. Tunataka kwamba tumkumbushe, na Mheshimiwa wewe utakumbusha rais kwamba alisema watu watabomolewa tena, na tunaomba kwamba lile lililotendeka pale Msambweni kule Voi lisiwahi tendeka kwingine, manake watu wa Voi, kuna watu wana wasiwasi saizi kwamba watabomolewa manyumba zao kwa sababu sasa huo wasiwasi nataka rais aongee, aseme vile alivyosema juzi kwamba hakutakuwa tena na mauaji ya yale ambayo tunanaudhi Kenya, hata ubomoaji yatakana rais aseme clearly kwamba hakutakuwa na ubomoaji tena. Asante Mheshimiwa Spika.
Mwiti, MP for South Menti.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to contribute in this very important and noble bill. I first by thanking Honorable Bai for bringing this bill. This is the right time, and it's also long overdue, since land is very, very important in this country. Honorable Speaker, this bill seeks to enable the Commission to direct the registrar to book title deeds that have been acquired illegally We know, Honorable Speaker, that some people have unlawfully acquired land and would like, Honorable Speaker, the land to be given to the right people. Honorable Speaker, this bill will help to ensure those who acquired through unlawful ways shall not get away with a piece of land. And also, Honorable Speaker, justice shall be served according to the law. We know, Honorable Speaker, that some people invaded some areas and ran away with the land. This bill, Honorable Speaker, will direct the registrar to revoke the title deeds that were acquired unlawfully. Hence, Honorable Speaker, the families or those people who are aggrieved will get their land which they are supposed to have. Secondly, Honorable Speaker, the bill seeks also will investigate, will give the Commission an opportunity to investigate all historical land injustice and complaints. And we are convinced that there is a lot of land injustice. Honorable Speaker, the bill seeks also to enable the Commission to investigate historical and injustice complaints and recommend appropriate redress of the injustices that have been done. Honorable Speaker, this will ensure the families who are aggrieved, who have suffered, who have stayed without their land from the historical land injustice, will possess their land from generation to generation. Finally, yet justice will be served. Honorable Speaker, it is also very important to know that those people who may have lost the documents or may have not accessed the documents, or they are not aware of the documents at that particular time, the issue will be revisited and they will be able to get their land back because the document will be traced and the land will be reassessed. So, Honorable Speaker, this is very important. We know quite a number of people are losing land because of lack of documents. However, Mr. Speaker, we would like to emphasize that the titles that are owned must be well investigated so that people don't lose their genuine land. Title is not just a paper, and we fear that influential people may state that the title deeds are not necessary documents. Lastly, Mr. Speaker, I seek to support this bill as it does not add any additional expenditure of the fabric funds. It's crucial at this time. We are in the process of economic recovery of our nation. There is no expenses that are going to be cut because the same officers are going to be used. Honorable Speaker, it is also very, very important that we look, or the Commission looks at various documents critically. Mr. Speaker, I support this bill. Thank you.
Gikaria, where is the Honorable Gikaria?
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for giving me this very opportunity to be able to comment.
Followed by Honorable Sioi. Okay, proceed.
Thank you. Honorable Speaker, as I look at the memoranda of objects and reasons, And I want to take this opportunity also to thank my brother and my leader, Owen Baya, for bringing this very important legislation that cuts across the whole country, particularly on matters to do with land. Honorable Speaker, us who come from Rift Valley, we have had this problem throughout since independence. And Honorable Speaker, the National Land Commission, a commission that was created in the new constitution for it to be able to address public land matters. Honorable Speaker, we thought it was going to bring a lot of changes. But Honorable Speaker, as it has been said by speakers who have taken the floor before me, Honorable Speaker, we also need to take caution on the members of this commission. Honorable Speaker, again, as Honorable Millie had indicated there earlier, that again, if we just leave this commission to have a blanket check for them to be able to work without any restrictions on matters to do with time limits, Honorable Speaker, it is important that we note that the commissioners, they have a duty, a constitutional responsibility for them to be able to address without favoring of any side. Honorable Speaker, I come from a county where a commission sits on a Monday, make a decision, and the same commission since 2 months after make a completely different decision from the decision that they had made earlier. Then you wonder then what would have informed them to come with two very distinct decisions regarding a matter on land, on the same parcel of land. So again, I would want to say, as the law has given them that responsibility, it is good for them to be objective and to be fair to each and every party who come with any land complaint. But at the same time, Honorable Speaker, as Parliament, we must also be asking ourselves, sometimes do we legislate on an unconstitutional issue and we just let it pass without looking critically? And this is a place where, Honorable Speaker, looking at the Constitution, under Article 67, the National Land Commission, Honorable Speaker, Article 67, subsection, that is subsection, sorry, Honorable Speaker, 2E, and it reads, Honorable Speaker, to initiate investigation on its own initiative or on a complaint into present or historical land injustices and recommend appropriate redress. Then the question that now we need to ask, Honorable Speaker, is that where did this time limit come from? If the Constitution itself is very open, that they can be able to initiate on their own or through a complaint that has been brought before them, that they can be able to. So it doesn't matter. And it talks about present or historical. Now the other question that again we need to ask ourselves, Honorable Speaker, what is historical? Historical, is it, how many years becomes historical? Maybe 40 years down the line, do we treat that as historical or is it a present issue? So, Honorable Speaker, again, it is important for us to be able to be addressing issues that are constitutional without allowing us also as Parliament, where we are supposed to make legislation, to make sometimes unconstitutional legislation. Honorable Speaker, my wish would be, as indicated under Article 67(2) subsection E, that we don't have time limits. We allow the National Land Commission to be able to do its work. But unfortunately, Honorable Speaker, I was in when we were in Nakuru, just immediately after the new constitution, there has been so many cases which have arisen in Nakuru County, Honorable Speaker. And again, as my brother from Matuga constituency had indicated there earlier, you find that sometimes you don't know which one to follow, whether to follow the Ministry of Land through the Commission of Land, who issue title deeds to respective individuals with the same, again, when the National Land Commission says those land titles are fake, so or they're just papers, and it is unfortunate, Honorable Speaker, that every time when we have such kind of disputes and long litigation that goes over 40 years, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this chance to support the motion, the amendments brought forward by Honorable Baya. And Mr. Speaker, I support this motion because, this bill I support it because this is one thing that has affected our country at large. I want to give a good example of my county, Trans Nzoia County, Mr. Speaker, whereby there is a land belonging to prisons that was allocated to some individuals in Trans Nzoia, and these people have suffered. And I feel if we put the time limits to the National Land Commission, we'll be doing injustice to a number of people in Kenya, Mr. Speaker. I want to say we should remove the time limit and give them time and even powers to execute their duties as they have been mandated, so that we can deal with the land injustices that we have in Kenya. Mr. Speaker, people have suffered, and it takes a number of years before their cases have been heard of. I don't know if this is indicated here, but how I feel, the National Land Commission could be given powers to fast track the reviews they are doing for those people that have been affected, because people are being demolished for properties that they spend a lot of money to construct. These people have been allocated those kind of land and have been in those land for a very long period, Mr. Speaker. Then you come to realize after some time, these people are being evacuated from that place, displaced, and nobody cares about them. There is no compensation, and that is the reason as to why I want to support this, that the National Land Commission be given mandate to manage public land and help the members so that they can get justice wherever they have been done for injustices, Mr. Speaker. I also want to support this because I realized that people have been given original title deeds, which they acquired from Ministry of Lands. The land registrars have put their signatures on those title deeds. Then later you are being told that that title deed is not original. It is a fake title deed. Now you wonder how you acquired a fake title deed that bears the signature of a land registrar, and the land registrars are still in the office. Nobody is talking about them, nobody is questioning them, and no one has been prosecuted for having put their signatures in the same title deeds that we are saying they are not genuine. Mr. Speaker, I stand to support this, and I want to congratulate Honorable Baya for bringing forward these amendments, and I support it. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honorable Faisal, MP from Sombeni.
Asante sana Mheshimiwa Spika kwa kunipatia hii nafasi ili na mimi niweze kuongeza sauti yangu juu ya huu mswada ulioletwa na Mheshimiwa Owen Baya. Vile vile niweze kumpongeza Mheshimiwa Owen Baya kwa kuzingatia mswada huu na kuuleta hapa ili tume ya ardhi iweze kuongezwa muda ili waweze kufanya kazi yao ile waliopatiwa na katiba yetu ya Kenya. Mheshimiwa Spika, niseme swala la ardhi ni swala muhimu sana na ni swala nyeti. Na tume hii ya ardhi iliundwa kuangazia mambo mengi mojawapo ya yale mambo ni kuangalia dhulma za kihistoria. Na nikisema dhulma za kihistoria, sisi kama wapwani tumedhulumiwa sana kuhusu masuala ya ardhi yetu. Mimi nikizungumza hapa nawakilisha eneo bunge la Msambweni, kijiji nilichozaliwa. Mpaka leo sisi ni maskwata, na uskwata ule umesababishwa na dhulma, kwa sababu ardhi yote zaidi ya ekari 4,000 inashikiliwa na mabwenyenye wawili peke yake. Sisi wananchi wa pale zaidi ya familia 5,000 tunakaa katika ekari 13 peke yake. Kwa hiyo Mheshimiwa Spika, huu mswada huu utaweza kupeana nguvu kwa tume ya ardhi ili waweze kuendelea kupokea malalamishi na kuweza kutatua haya malalamishi, ili Wakenya na wapwani waweze kumiliki ardhi zao. Na niseme Mheshimiwa Spika, tuko na matatizo mengi ya ardhi, mpaka sasa hatuwezi kufanya maendeleo katika sehemu zetu. Mimi niko na ward moja katika eneo bunge langu, ward ya Ukunda. Kuna changamoto nyingi sana ambaye mpaka sasa hatuwezi kuweka mradi wowote wa kimaendeleo katika ward hii. Kwa hiyo Mheshimiwa Spika, mimi nataka niombe wajumbe wenzangu katika nyumba hii tuweze kuunga mkono mswada huu ili uweze kupitishwa na Wakenya waweze kupata hati miliki na waweze kumiliki ardhi zao kihalali. Asante sana Mheshimiwa Spika.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise on starting order number 95. Looking at the mood of the House is that there is repetition as to the contribution that has been being made in this House. And the feeling is that maybe we should move forward because we have some other urgent matters that also need some attention. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable members, under the circumstances, I now put the question. That the mover be called upon to reply. As many out of opinion say aye. Aye. As many contrary opinion say nay. The ayes have it. Proceed, mover and reply.
Honorable Speaker, I want to thank the members that have contributed to this very important bill that aims at giving the power to the National Lands Commission to review historical land injustices and also to review grants, power which is granted in the Constitution but was taken away by a legislation. Honorable Speaker, this is important that the National Lands Commission goes back to look at these issues and solve the land problems that are there in this country. Honorable Speaker, I have had many members that have requested that we do 1 or 2 amendments. I am happy to engage those members plus the committee so that as we move to the 3rd reading, Honorable Speaker, or to the committee of the whole, we are able to make amendments that will help this country move forward. But what is important, Honorable Speaker, that the National Lands Commission gets power to review grants and also to look at historical land injustices, so that all these problems that led to the Njonjo Commission, that led to the Nungu Commission, all these things that had many commissions appointed can be sorted out. So, Honorable Speaker, I want to thank you. I want to thank members for contributing to this very important bill, and I look forward to 3rd reading, Honorable Speaker. I thank you, and Honorable Speaker, I reply.
Honorable members, I defer putting the question on this particular bill to a later date. Next. Yes, Majority Leader, what's your issue?
Honorable Speaker, I wanted to seek your indulgence. Honorable Speaker, I know members are really interested in that particular business that we just concluded. And there is the next order, the Niamey report. And the chair of the committee seems to have left. I wanted to seek your indulgence to reorder business so that we start with the IEBC amendment bill ahead of the committee report on foreign relations and defense.
I thought I saw the chairman of defense and I also saw the deputy chair. And then you, honorable member, you are in the defense committee and you're the deputy chair. I thought you and the chair wanted this matter to be disposed of today.
We have a majority leader, I give way. Thank you.
Yes, what's your point of order, the Honorable Mashako? Honorable Mwago, yes.
Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I rise on point of order, on standing order number 35, and I raise that there is no quorum in the House.
Proceed and Sergeant at Arms, is it true that we do not have a quorum? I think I'll make a casual order. Honorable Bayer. Order, honorable members. The honorable member has exercised the provisions of the standing order and I'm convinced there's no quorum, so ring the quorum bell. Ring the quorum bell. And it's only
at the commencement of House business, and the bell will be on for the members to be able to make their way to the chambers. A quick look at this particular standing order on the quorum during the proceeding of the House is that 35(1) indicates that if at any time after the chair is taken or when the House is in a committee, a member objects that there is not a quorum present, and that is what we have just witnessed or seen, that a member rose on a point of order to allow the Speaker that the House does not have the required quorum, and the Speaker ordered that the bell be rung. So in this case, if a member objects that there is not a quorum present, the Speaker or the chairperson shall count the members in the House or the committee, as the case may be. If on count a quorum does not appear to be present, the Speaker shall cause the division bell to be rung as on division, or if no quorum is present, at the expiration of 10 minutes. If the Speaker is in the chair, the Speaker shall adjourn the House until the next sitting without question put. But as you can see, as the quorum bell is underway, those are members walking into the chambers, and in no time we believe that the quorum will be achieved. Earlier on, the members were debating the National Land Commission Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 43 of 2023. This is by the Honorable Member for Kilifi North, Owen Bayer, and the members debated this bill. The next business was on a motion on the ratification of the African Union Convention on cross-border cooperation. This is by the chairperson, Departmental Committee on Defense, Intelligence, and Foreign Relations. And in this case, the majority leader had informed the Speaker, that is Speaker at the moment, Honorable Faram Alim, that the chairperson of the Departmental Committee on Defense and Intelligence and Foreign Relations are not present in the House, and requesting the Speaker to rearrange the order paper to consider order number 12, that is the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission Amendment Bill originating from the National Assembly. This is Bill number 10 of 2024. That is the Sergeant at Arms who is keeping tabs on the numbers of the members in the chambers. 50 members are needed in the chambers. Once the number is achieved, the Sergeant at Arms, of course, will alert the clerk and the Speaker, and the House will be called to order. As you can see, those are members walking in, and in no time that number will be achieved. The Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 10 of 2024. This is by the leader of the majority party at the National Assembly, as well as the leader of the minority party at the National Assembly. This bill is at its second reading stage, and it is a bill that seeks to give effect to some of the recommendations and views of the public that was submitted during the National Dialogue Discourse on the issues of electoral justice and related matters, outstanding constitutional matters, fidelity to political parties or coalitions, and the law on multi-party democracy, entrenchment of the National Government Constituency Development Fund, the Senate Oversight Fund, and the National Government Affirmative Action Fund, and the establishment and entrenchment of state officers. This bill seeks to amend the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission Act number 9 of 2011 to clean up the act by deleting obsolete provisions. This bill further seeks to make some consequential amendments intended to align the act to the judgment of the High Court in Katiba Institute and 3 others versus Attorney General and 2 others, wherein the High Court held that certain provisions of the act were unconstitutional. The bill also seeks to amend Section 6 of the Act and include experience in accounting or information and communication technology as additional professional qualifications for appointment as a member of the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission. This bill further seeks to amend the first schedule to the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, number 9 of 2011, to increase the number of members of the selection panel from 7 to 9 in order to accommodate a wide spectrum of stakeholders and interest groups. The bill also seeks to, that is an indication by the Senator terms that the quorum has been achieved. Members are still working in, and allow me to hand you over for the continuation of the National Assembly proceedings this afternoon.
No, we don't. We don't. Order, honorable members. I think we have quorum now. We can proceed with the business of the House. I have order, honorable members. Honorable members, I have a request from the Majority Leader to reorder the business of the House today. We were supposed to move on to order number 11, which is the ratification of the African Union Convention on Cross-Border Cooperation. And the leader of the majority is of the opinion that we should push that one to another time. and bring forward order number 12, the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 10 of 2024. And I have assented to that. Standing order number 42.2 allows the Speaker to rearrange the order of the business of the House. And I've so ordered. So Majority Leader, could you move order number 12, which is the IEBC bill?
Order number 12, the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 10 of 2024, second reading.
Majority Leader, can you move the bill?
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, and thank you for acceding to the request to reorder business. Honorable Speaker, I beg to move that the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 10 of 2024, be now read a second time. Honorable Speaker, this bill, honorable members, you remember, is one of the consequential amendments or some of the statutory instruments that emanated from the NADCO report. Honorable Speaker, as we did commit between ourselves and the Leader of Minority that would hasten to make sure that all the statutory instruments that relates to the NADCO process are allocated time by the House Business Committee, and the House Business Committee did agree to prioritize consideration of this IEBC amendment bill. Honorable Speaker, the bill therefore seeks to implement some of the recommendations of the National Dialogue Committee relating to electoral justice and related matters, and in particular on the issue of restructuring and reconstitution of the IEBC. Honorable Speaker, members are aware, and indeed the country is aware, that we have operated for the last few months or almost a year without a commission in place, and this has left our nation in a very precarious situation and in a constitutional crisis that was never anticipated under any circumstances by the drafters of our constitution. Honorable Speaker, we are also aware that there was a panel that had been established under the old act, or rather the subsisting act today, that sought to replace the entire commission whose vacancies fell vacant following the resignation of 4 commissioners and the ending of the term of another 3 commissioners. And that's why, Honorable Speaker, I'm saying that we are in a very unique situation, a situation where we don't have a single commissioner in office. And you know, the Constitution recognizes IEBC not in terms of the Secretariat, but the Commission. And therefore, without the Commission, we cannot carry on with the business of boundaries delimitation, which is a matter that is very sensitive to the country. We cannot carry on with by-elections, and Honorable Speaker, you're aware that the people of Banisa have been waiting for by-elections. There are a number of wards where we've lost MCAs, some through death, Honorable Speaker, unfortunately, and therefore those constituents of those particular wards are also waiting for their by-elections. And we've not been able to conduct these by-elections as a country because we do not have a commission in place. Therefore, this amendment bill, Honorable Speaker, opens the way or the avenue to establish or to recruit new commissioners. Honorable Speaker, the issue of reconstitution of IEBC is therefore a matter of national importance. And as you are aware, the deadline for the review of the boundaries also came and passed without a commission in place. And as I mentioned, the issue of by-elections that are still pending, indeed, the courts have pronounced themselves on the question of whether or not elections should be held, and directed that the panel that existed to complete its work and have a commission in place. However, Honorable Speaker, recognizing through the NADCO process that the reconstitution or the constitution of an electoral commission is both a legal and a political process. And therefore, we sought to agree within the NADCO committee on how best we can reconstitute the panel that will recruit new commissioners in a way that we generate the confidence of the majority of Kenyans. You may not satisfy everybody, Honorable Speaker, in such a process, but at least have the views and interests of as many Kenyans as possible represented in the new IEBC commissioners. And therefore, we sought to expand the panel that will be recruiting those commissioners. And this is what this new bill seeks to do with the amendments. The proposed amendments to this Act, Honorable Speaker, sought to increase the number of members of the selection panel from 7 members to 9 members. The current panel has 7, as was the case under the current Act, but we are now seeking to amend that to expand it to 9 members, as I say, to have a broader representation of different interests, both those in the religious circles, professionals, the political class to be more represented in this recruitment panel. And therefore, the new proposed composition of the selection panel will be as follows. There will be 2 persons nominated by the Parliament Service Commission, representing, now explicitly stated that it will represent the majority party or coalition of parties and minority party or coalition of parties. That is a departure from the previous provision of the Act that we are seeking to amend, because it was never explicit that would represent both the majority and minority parties. Now it is explicit that the majority and minority parties must be represented by the 2 persons who will be nominated by the Parliament Service Commission. 2, there will be 3 persons nominated by the Political Parties Liaison Committee, of whom 1 shall be from a party other than a parliamentary party or coalition of parties, because we recognize within NADCO that there are many political parties that are not represented in Parliament, and therefore they are stakeholders in the electoral process, and therefore they need to have their interests well represented, and that's why they have 1 nominee. In case in point, Honorable Speaker, are even the parties that are today sitting in this House. In the last Parliament, Honorable Speaker, when a panel was done, that panel largely represented 2 political parties, Jubilee and ODM. UDA was a newly formed political party without representation in the House, and therefore never had an opportunity. But that did not stop UDA from moving on to win the elections under the commission that was established by ODM and Jubilee. And you know, ODM and Jubilee at that time, Honorable Speaker, were in the process of forming the Azimio coalition at that time. But this time, recognizing that fact that even newly formed political parties can move on and become big political parties. Today, UDA is the largest political party in the country, but was never represented. Now, if any honorable member here forms a political party in 2026, or those political parties that are not represented in the House today or in the Senate, and don't even have a single elected member, even in county assemblies, will have an opportunity to be represented in the selection panel that will midwife the process of recruiting commissioners. We'll also have 1 person who shall be from a parliamentary party or coalition of parties forming the national government, that is a majority, and 1 shall be from a political party or coalition of parties not forming the national government, that is from the minority side. 3 will be 1 person nominated by the Law Society of Kenya, as the case was in the old Act or in the Act that we seek to amend. And 4 will be 1 person nominated by the Institute of Certified Public Accountants of Kenya. This is a new provision recognizing, as I say, the role of professionals. And I think in the wisdom of the NADCO committee, they did appreciate that elections and election results tallying have a lot to do with both technology and the tallying basically is a summation of numbers. And who better to represent interests of people who can tally numbers other than the Institute of Certified Public Accountants, just like lawyers are represented by LSK. Lastly, will be 2 persons nominated by the Interreligious Council of Kenya. And Honorable Speaker, this again is, as the case was before, where the Interreligious Council of Kenya had 2 members being nominated to this panel. Further, Honorable Speaker, the bill proposes amendments to the IEBC Act to provide that the selection panel shall finalize the recruitment exercise within 90 days of its appointment and forward the names of the nominees to the President, and shall therefore thereafter stand dissolved. Given the urgency of this matter, the prescribed timeline is geared towards ensuring that the selection panel process is concluded within time. Honorable Speaker, the old Act or the Act that we are seeking to amend did not provide for a timeline. And you see Kenyans, especially those from Banisa constituency, had to go to court to instigate a closure of the process, because the process under the current act is open-ended. Until the panel concludes the process, nobody or nothing in law tells the panel that you must recruit commissioners within a certain period. We are now seeking to amend the law to ensure that it no longer remains an open-ended process. It is a process that is time-bound. Therefore, once the panel is constituted, once this bill becomes an act of parliament, then within 90 days, the panel must recruit commissioners, and those commissioners take office and begin the work either of conducting by-elections or preparing for the next general elections in 2027, and also the process, the very important process of boundaries delimitation ahead of time. Because again, Honorable Speaker, we are cognizant, and we are cognizant even within NADCO of the need, as recommended by the Kriegler Commission, not to have boundaries being delimited very close to a general election, or even having very many electoral reforms and changes in our electoral processes very close to the elections. And therefore, this particular provision will seek to address that particular concern also. Honorable Speaker, it is also noteworthy that the bill contains a transitional clause to provide that the selection panel existing immediately at the commencement date of the Act shall cease to exist, but a person who served as a member of that selection panel may be nominated to serve as a member of a selection panel appointed under the new Act. In this regard, Honorable Speaker, any of the existing panel members may still be nominated in the new selection panel once the bill is enacted into law. Honorable Speaker, we also appreciated that the panel has already done some work, and they had called for people to apply for the jobs, and there's already work that had been done that is yet to be concluded. And therefore, we sought also, as a matter of creating some transitional mechanism, to allow the nominating bodies, for instance, the Parliamentary Service Commission, LSK, the Interreligious Council, those that already had representation in the selection panel, should they wish to renominate the same people that they are nominated to the panel, then there is nothing within this law that stops them from renominating or reappointing the same people. And those names will eventually come before the House for the House to agree with the nominating bodies or to disagree with them. Honorable Speaker, the bill further proposed amendments to Section 6 of the IEBC Act to include experience in information and communication technology and accounting as professional qualifications for appointment as a member of the IEBC. And members will agree with us that these thematic areas align, as I mentioned, with the function of the IEBC, and hence form a basis for qualifications for appointment as an IEBC commissioner. As I mentioned, Honorable Speaker, we have seen commissioners in the past who may not have all the requisite skills and knowledge on matters ICT. Our electoral process is largely technology-driven, and therefore we found it necessary to have commissioners who will be nominated who have requisite knowledge in matters, information communication technology, and also in accounting. And I must take this opportunity, Honorable Speaker, to state that I am an accountant, although that had nothing to do with the recommendations of the committee, where the Honorable Pio and I also sat in as a budding young lawyer, and although they are well represented. I know the chairman of the commission is a requirement that he be a lawyer, and therefore there was that back and forth in NADCO, and many people who presented before NADCO argued for the case to have the requisite skills in ICT, accounting, so that we need not to be fighting about numbers. Tallies. Tallying is a summation of numbers. 1 + 1 is 2, it can never be 3. And therefore we need accountants to ascertain that 1 + 1 is always 2, not 3. Because lawyers can argue that 1 + 1 is not necessarily 2, it could be 3. And they will find a clever way of arguing that 1 + 1 is 3. But accountants are factual, and therefore, I'm not just speaking for accountants, even ICT experts, because the transmission of election results, is one of the issues that has been a very sticky issue during transmission of election results. We want that comfort in future elections, that when results are transmitted We do not want to hear lawyers arguing in court whether a PDF is something that you can hijack somewhere in between the transmission area from your constituency or your sub-county headquarters to Bomas of Kenya. We want commissioners who understand what a PDF document is, what a JPEG document is, and how possible, how easy is it to manipulate those particular documents, whether when people demand servers to be opened, we need commissioners who understand what these servers are. And that is why, in the wisdom of the NADCO committee, we found it necessary to have that particular amendment. Honorable Speaker, I don't want to belabor everything because we want to allow members to contribute well ahead of time, but let me ask all of us to support this as among the NADCO statutory instruments that we adopted in this House, were also adopted in the Senate, and we have committed, as I said, between ourselves and the minority leadership that we want to hasten the process of ensuring that all these National Dialogue Committee statutory instruments are debated and agreed on by both houses for the full implementation. And I do not need to belabor the importance, especially of the IEBC Commission, to be in place. With those many remarks, I do pray for your support, honorable members, in this process and in adopting this IEBC Amendment Bill of 2024. And with those many remarks, I beg to move, and I want to request the Honorable Leader of Minority now to second. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Honorable Speaker, thank you very much. I rise to second. And I want to thank my good friend, the Deputy Minority Whip, who was on standby to perform this onerous task in my absence. But now that I'm back, I've taken charge. Honorable Speaker, let me start by saying this, that this is the first NADCO bill to get to the second reading stage. As you recall, NADCO produced a total of 9 bills. 9 bills. This is the first NADCO bill to get to the second reading stage of the House legislative process. And I want to say from the very outset that this is a bill that we should support and pass like yesterday. Honorable members, you might be sitting here and you forget that there's a constituency in Mandera County known as Banisa, which has gone without an MP for now more than a year, for the reason that there has been no functioning IEBC in place. It is such a serious matter, honorable members, that we cannot afford to be oblivious to. And therefore, the passage of this bill must be hastened, if only to address the constitutional requirement of equal representation in this country. That is one. Two, Honorable Speaker, as a country, we cannot afford to tempt fate all the time. All the time tempting fate. Why do I say so? You know, God forbid, if we were to have vacancies, concurrent vacancies in the office of the president and that of the deputy president, what would happen? In the absence of a functioning IEBC, what would happen, Honorable Speaker? You are a lawyer.
For God forbid, but if anything happens to the president, the deputy president takes over. And if the deputy president takes over, he appoints also his vice president.
I am saying,
have to go through elections.
I'm asking if there were to be vacancy in the office of the president and that of the deputy president at the same time.
You don't, no, not at the same time. If they happen separately, you don't need an election.
And there was also a vacancy in the office of the Speaker of the National Assembly.
You still don't need a general election. And you still don't need the IEBC.
If there was no IEBC in place, what would happen? That is food for thought. And the legal scholars, Honorable Speaker, have debated this a number of times and concluded that we are actually tempting fate. And this House must rise to the occasion and ensure that you don't create a situation that would precipitate a constitutional crisis at any one given moment, Honorable Speaker. That is our cardinal responsibility.
Yeah, what's your point of order?
Why? I haven't even spoken. I'm just relaying the foundation.
Who is the one who is on a point of order? Nobody. Okay, proceed.
Why would one raise a point of order on such an obvious matter, really? Honorable Speaker, coming back to this bill, this is a very progressive bill, and I want to thank Honorable Kimani Ichung'wah and his team, Honorable Leader, Deputy Majority Whip. I am addressing the Majority Leader on a very serious matter of law. Honorable Speaker, let me thank the Leader of Majority and his team at the NADCO. They had serious difficulties agreeing with most of the recommendations we had as Azimio. And you know, these disagreements led to the collapse of the Murungara Committee. You remember very well. Murungara Utiende Committee. Because of serious disagreements. But this team of Kimani Kalonzo was able to navigate through these very difficult issues and arrive at these products, one of which is this bill. So when history is written, Honorable Ichung'wah, you may get a paragraph. No, a sentence, but that's good enough, you know. That's good enough. I hope I won't be very far. I won't be very far from there because I was also around when these things happened. So the salient feature of this bill is essentially the reconstitution of the IEBC, by and large. But let me start from where Honorable Kimani Ichung'wah left, I think. The matter of the reconstitution of the panel has been spoken to. And you can for sure see that we have expanded it from a panel of 7 to 9. And we have also given some bodies which were initially not represented, I think only one body, ISPAC, for good reasons. We want ISPAC to have a representation in the selection panel, to bring in their expertise, their competencies. Okay? And there is the issue of representation of political parties that are represented in the political parties liaison committee. I've heard some busybodies out there arguing that that provision is vague. That section is vague. It cannot be vague. Any plain interpretation of the law would lead you to conclude that what is referred to in the first schedule to the Principal Act, 2B Roman 2 and Roman 3. What that particular clause refers to is that the political parties liaison committee, in addition to nominating one person who belongs to a party that is neither parliamentary nor a coalition of parties, okay? One other person shall come from a parliamentary party or a coalition of parties forming the national government. There's no other interpretation really. It's a party which is forming national government or a coalition of parties. It can only be ODA or Kenya Kwanza. And when it comes to part Roman Roman part 3, one shall be from a parliamentary party or coalition of parties not forming the national government. It also leaves no doubt as to what it means. It's definitely a coalition of parties or a party that is in the House but does not form the national government. That can only be ODM or Azimio. So that is as clear as you may wish it to be. Yes, of course. Then there's the issue of the timeline. Because we saw some mischief. We saw mischief that a selection panel which was formed more than a year ago, Honorable Murungara, is still in existence because they had no sunset clause. The panel could exist for as long as it wanted. For so long as the panel had not concluded its work and handed over the names to the president, it existed. It could even exist for 5 years. Actually, it could exist for infinity. So that was a very dangerous situation that was created by the makers of that law. So we have dealt with that mischief by creating a timeline within which the panel must conclude its work and submit names for appointment. And that is 90 days. Let me not fail to thank the Makanda committee, Makanda panel. Is it Makanda? The Makanda panel. They have done their work. They have done their best. We know they're operating under difficult circumstances. They were supposed to be identifying or selecting commissioners of the IEBC when people were fighting on the streets. And they are Kenyans. They had to be alive to what was happening outside. Because any small mistake, any small misstep would have led to more problems. So I must thank them for their wisdom and a sense of nationalism and patriotism. I'm sure history will be kind to them. Remember, they still have a chance to come back to the new panel. Members of the Makanda selection panel still have a chance to be considered for appointment to the new IEBC selection panel in the manner established in the new bill, Honorable Speaker. There is the issue of the term limit for the CEO of the IEBC. The other day I heard some people making some representation that recommendation is uncalled for, that recommendation is ill thought. Let me say this, that the CEO would need 2 years to get inducted, to learn what goes on in electoral management. Bullshit, Honorable Speaker. What kind of a manager would you be if you need 2 years to learn your work?
Order, Honorable.
What kind of a manager would you be that you require 2 years to get inducted into your work?
Order. Watch your parliamentary language. Apologize and withdraw bullshit. You don't say bullshit here in Parliament.
Oh, okay. I withdraw the word bullshit and say unreasonable.
Okay. Proceed.
Totally unreasonable. Yeah. That you require 2 years to understand your work. That if you give them 3 year term, they only work for 1 year because 2 years is for learning. What kind of... It doesn't make sense. What kind of absurdity is this? What kind of absurdity is this? Duku, thank you for that word. You see? If you cannot get into work and be able to learn your work and be able to deliver in 3 years, then you have got no business accepting that work. Honorable Bayo, agree with me? Yeah. You know, Honorable Speaker, in my previous life, I was a strategic manager. And I worked for a serious blue chip company. In fact, I resigned as an expatriate doing serious work to come and run for a parliamentary seat in 2013. As a strategic manager, if you cannot settle into a new role 2 years down the road, then you better go home. Just go home and tend and look after your cows or goats. Stop wasting Kenyan people's time. So this provision must stay. You are appointed the CEO of IEBC, serve 3 years. If you have served Kenyans well, you can be given a second term of another 3 years. Then you go home. In other words, an IEBC CEO will only superintend over 1 general election, not 2, not 3. That is the import of this amendment, honorable members. Yeah, because some people have made IEBC their home. Yeah, they have made it their home. And they have become entrenched, so entrenched that you cannot do anything without their permission. They have created cartels within the IEBC secretariat. This bill is meant to cure that mischief. Serve 3 years. If you are lucky and Kenyans feel you've done a good job, another 3 years, then go home. Create room for another Kenyan to serve. So that has to stay, of course. Everything will stay, but that one is a no-go area. So, in a nutshell, Honorable Speaker, the amendments proposed in this bill are very progressive. And we believe that if the House, in its wisdom, adopts them and passes this bill as is, this country will be the better. We are a fledgling democracy. Our democracy is still maturing, Honorable Speaker. So we must continually look at our processes and systems and legal infrastructure to allow our democracy to grow, to mature, for the benefit of this country, the present generation and future generations. And let me conclude that this bill, being a negotiated document, as we have agreed before, with all its flaws, if any, we are being asked to pass it without any thought of amendments. You can, of course, address typos here and there, clean up here and there, but you see, nothing that goes to the substance of this bill should ever be contemplated. Like any other negotiated document, this bill.
Order. Order, Honorable Member. You're out of time. You second. I don't know. Have you seconded? Yes. Yes, seconded. Yes.
Honorable Speaker, I second. Thank you very much.
Pure and you don't cease to amuse him in the chair. Honorable members, now I propose the question that the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 10 of 2024 be read a second time. Amendment. Order. 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 Order, honorable members. What's wrong with this? I want to propose the question again. Honorable members, I now propose the question that the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 10 of 24, be read a second time. Is that very clear, Honorable Appeal? Now, can I call order? I call on the chair of JLAC, the Honorable Member of Parliament for Naraka. Proceed.
Thank you.
Proceed, and followed by TJ, indeed.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, sir. Mr. Speaker, I rise to support the bill, but I must from the outset inform the Honorable Leader of Minority that in spite of it being a negotiated document, it is not cast on stone. The Justice and Legal Affairs Committee, for which I am extremely grateful, did a thorough job when it came to scrutinizing this bill. Thank you, Honorable Johnny Makali, who is next to me, Honorable TJ, Honorable Mogaka, Honorable Kagusha is here, and there are a few other members who are coming.
And you forget the chair.
And I also thank the chair profusely because he's a member of the Justice and Legal Affairs Committee.
Thank you. Proceed.
Not the chair, actually, is the speaker who is on the chair. May I also confirm that we sat with the JLAC of Senate.
What's your point of order?
Honorable Speaker, just sorry to interrupt the chairman of the JLAC. Honorable Speaker, I am being told through whispers from behind here that there's a report from JLAC. I haven't seen any. Could you direct that I get a copy?
It's available.
Thank you.
You will get it.
Yeah, thank you.
It's on demand, available.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Proceed.
Honorable Leader of Minority, Opio and I, it was tabled. So you will get a copy. You need to read it because it has certain proposals which may be of interest to you and to the entire House, because as we are saying, nobody else in this country can make anything that has force of law apart from Parliament. And therefore, what was brought here by NADCO is just but a proposal. The real law is going to be made by this House. So I confirm that we start with the JLAC of the Senate, and I emphasize that in fact we did the public participation together. So when this bill goes to the Senate, It did not have a second public participation, and we hope also there are going to be undue delay with further amendments. Honorable Speaker, I wish to speak to the proposed amendments. When JLAC sat, we were convinced that in spite of this being a negotiated document, there were certain areas which needed to be made even better than they are, because the law being proposed here is for posterity. It is for the future of the country. It is not for any negotiation. It is not because of anything else. We are doing a law that is going to serve this country and the future in the best way possible. Very quickly, I confirm that we looked at a clause 6, which gives the term of the secretary of 3 years. It is clause 5 actually, not clause 6. It proposes 3 years renewable. And we actually agonized over this, beginning with where we are today. If for any reason we are to get a secretary today, that secretary will serve 3 years. If that is not a good secretary, the 3 years will not be renewed. So as we go to elections in 2027, we will be having a new secretary. What is the effect of this? In spite of the fact that some unparliamentary language is being used about it, we therefore questioned, why are commissioners given 6 years non-renewable? It is this, that they are able to go through an election cycle. So we actually found it prudent that a secretary must also go through an election cycle. Because if you appoint a secretary 3 years, the first year of the election, after election, he will not do an election. The next one who will come in may have less than 2 years to do an election. So this does not guarantee properly prepared elections. So this committee is going to propose an amendment that the secretary will have 6 years non-renewable. So we combine the fears they had of 3 years plus 3 years renewable to 6 years fixed. That does not mean the person has to serve the 3 years, because we also have provisions on how the secretary can leave office. So if he breaches any of that, he can leave the office, but your appointment is going to be, you serve 6 years non-renewable. We have also made it clear that for the current secretary, because he's got accrued rights and legitimate expectation, we will preserve in the amendments the term unexpired. From the contract he has, which may be of 6 years, he has 1.5 or 2 years to go. We have preserved that because we do not wish to face lawsuits because of legitimate expectation. We have also made a few more recommendations, including clause 7, which proposes to amend section 36 of the Act. Having looked at it carefully, we have rearranged section 36 so that now it becomes a new section 24B. That section 24B is where we are going to anchor schedule 5. And the schedule 5 is actually in respect of delimitation, a very important exercise that the country is yearning for. What we have done also as regards the solution of the selection panel, we have left it as it is. However, we have to introduce a clause that kicks in the president's action to declare vacancies. Because as per this law, the person is honorable one day is complaining about can be in office indefinitely. So the president must declare the vacancies within a given period of time. Then after that, we have made a proposal on the selection panel that the nominating agencies, they've been provided for here by NADCO, that they will do it in a competitive manner. They will have to do so within 14 days. After 14 days, the president will have 7 days within which to name the selection panel. As regards the selection panel, we also looked at the additional qualifications, those of information and communication technology, extremely important, because we do not want people to plead ignorance, that they didn't know what it was. And accounting, which is mathematics, so that you don't go there and say, I never understood what was happening. The members now of the commission must have, the chairman is provided to have a high qualification of a judge of a Supreme Court. The other members must possess degrees that are recognized in the country. There are also other set rules on which they must comply with, and then they have to have knowledge, proven knowledge and experience in accounting and IT. Then we also had a discussion on quorum, because we felt there are 7 commissioners. It may be onerous to make it that quorum will constitute 5. So our question was, 4 is actually the majority. Why don't we have quorum being 4 and the other 3 may be on standby just in case? Otherwise, there may be problems in the commission discharging its duties. We got wise counsel and we accepted it. The reason NADCO has given them to be 5 is because if you have a quorum of 4, which is an even number, there may be decisions required where votes are necessary. You take a vote of 4 people, you have a draw. So we will have to think about a casting vote. We would also have to think about if there is no majority, the vote is lost. We actually saw sense in the NADCO provision that the quorum would be 5. There may be other amendments which we have proposed. Therefore, it is vitally important that every member gets a copy of JLAC's report, which we have tabled. Go through it so that you acquaint yourselves with what we propose to do. This law is vitally important. You know very well, for almost 2 years, the country has run without a IEBC. And thank heavens, we have not had many of the problems which we would actually imagine. So we do not want this to go on. Let's move with speed, constitute a selection panel, have the commissioners in place, and we begin with the gusto what the IEBC is supposed to do. One of those ones being the limitation and review of boundaries between wards and constituencies. With those remarks, I beg to support.
The Honorable Kajwang, TJ.
Mr. Speaker, I rise to support this legislation. First, I want to thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the manner in which you are leading this debate. It is very reasonable, and we members of both sides feel very comfortable in the manner in which it's going. We think that this is how to handle a very fragile and emotive political issue. But, Mr. Speaker, allow me also to congratulate the parties that were involved in negotiating this discussion because they found wisdom to arrive at proposals which can bring the country together from both sides. I was in chambers when the leader of majority presented his views on it, and when the minority leader, the two of whom are co-sponsors of this bill, and in many respects they mirror what we as a committee discussed. Mr. Speaker, Justice and Legal Affairs Committee perhaps is one of the most the most contemplating committees to be a member. One would have to be one of the many to be able to a member of this committee, because you know what we go through and how we process bills. And so when we bring them into this house, we have really searched and we have really put our heads on it in spite of the circumstances that we face. Mr. Speaker, this is the bill of make or break in a society, because elections, especially in Kenya, has been built to be a very strong pillar in socio-economic interactions of people. So if you mismanage elections, you probably mismanage everything else. IEBC Act, or the amendments that we propose today, are the pillar that many of these things will revolve. And so the fact that this parliament is doing these amendments is a show that we are taking the bulls by the horns to be able to do that which is central to the reasonable thinking on the man on the streets. Mr. Speaker, the bill is good as it is, but I think that the leader of minority has made a comment which I think we can expand, that even though it is good as it is, we still can improve it in terms with reflection and with the information that we now have to make it better. I would advise and I would recommend that members make themselves familiar with the report of this committee. If you do, we will not debate this bill on the basis of a lot of aggression, but we will feel that we have brought together the different parties. One thing which has troubled people, you know, Mr. Speaker, even if you bring the angel himself to superintend the election, even if today you bring, maybe God himself would find how to deal with human beings. But if you brought anybody under the Holy Spirit, or God the Father, or somewhere here, God the Son, anybody under that will not control human beings. Because everybody votes, including the Archbishop. And he has a preference. Whether that preference he announces or not, but he has a preference. Even if you bring a Kadi, that Kadi will still have a preference, and it will be one other than the others. So let us not be shy about this thing. Let us say that an election is something which deals with practitioners in election matters. And we need to recognize, and we have done that since multi-party, that they have developed a body of political parties that are drawing consensus around them to be able to practice in this field called democracy and in this field called political parties. So that if they are recognized in terms of their role in defining the referee, you will have very little complaints. But if you decide that these people are coming from other people who are not practitioners, public service, or those other entities who have nothing to do with the election, you will still have problems. So this bill is saying that there is an expanded space of practitioners in this field. That is what happens in mature democracies. That is the American experience. That is the English experience. That there would be 1 or 2 or 3 political parties that the country will be gravitating around. If those people are aware and they are comfortable, or to some extent they can give confidence in how that referee is chosen, there would be no problem. And so, of course, everybody else, including parties which are non-parliamentary, I am told, and some of them are here, they would want to have a bite of the cherry.
But parliamentary parties must be parliamentary parties, Mr. Speaker. Now, the minority leader should know that you used the term parliamentary, but you did not define it. I think it was because you didn't. Yes. Don't assume anything. Define parliamentary parties in the manner in which this bill, in the manner in which it is in this report. Define parliamentary parties to mean parties in the House, whether minority or majority, performing either making government or on the minority. But if you leave it that way, and then you define it in the standing orders, then you have a problem, because standing orders are unable to define with the legislative authority what those is. The last thing which I have seen, there is a lot of, courts have been very interactive in making decisions. And sometimes they make decisions, but they are not practitioners in this province which we call politics. You see, they have a problem with the chairman, the chairperson. But in this bill, Honorable Opio and I, through the Speaker, the manner in which the original bill was done, you would have created a very big issue of somebody called the chairperson. Mr. Speaker, if I just have 1 minute. We are just a few of us in the chamber, and if we got a good time, we can do some justice.
Time for the chamber.
I can see the time for chamber. But Mr. Speaker, probably I will keep to that. Yes. Now, Mr. Speaker, I just want to say that we would have made a mistake, minority leader. We would have created somebody called the chairperson, who is everybody. He is the chairperson, and everybody else, if he is not there to do certain things, nothing moves.
Order. Order, honorable members. Honorable Kajwang, when we resume this debate, you still have 2 more minutes. And with a good behavior, the Speaker could add you a few more minutes also. Honorable members, the time being 7 p.m., this House stands adjourned until Wednesday, the 24th of April, 2024, at 9:30 a.m.